Hello, hello, hello. Happy Saturday, everybody. It's the best day of the week. I think that's pretty undisputed. I am Donde, and I'm here with Isocles for a triple header on Salty Saturday. Isocles, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. So earlier today, I was preparing my dog's dinner, and she was sitting there just looking at me, ears perked, tail wagging, ready to go. And that's how I feel right now watching these Hearthstone games. I'm very excited to get into this. We've got a hero match to start with, and then two legacy finals matches, both of which
Yes.
will matter. So super excited about this.
Yes, you are 100% correct. We are starting with a hero match. It's a semifinals match tonight, and then we are moving into those two legacy finals matches where it is impossible for the second match to not be played. Like, we don't have a no contest or anything happening. It's going to be two matches tonight. It is possible that we crown champion if the same team takes both series. So this is a lot of fun. Everything that we build up to every season as the expansion comes to a close, just before everyone is ready to take a break and buy some new packs. So why don't we talk about our first match tonight? As we said, hero match. It is J.R. Juggerlaw of Tam Tam Surf Slam versus Turtle of Tonk of Your Corny. So Turtle 8-1, fantastic season, having one of the best seasons you can have right now. JR at 4-4, definitely looking like the underdog, but Tam Tams, although they've been the underdog pretty much every season, it seems like, still kicking, still ahead in this early semifinals here, up 4-1 right now. So this is the second series after Clarity got a win over Skirt Reynolds. Icecles, what do you think about this matchup here tonight?
I think it should be a good one. Jr. He's a good player, and he's held his own in the two seed. And that being said, like he's been playing players of Turtle's caliber all season and doing okay. Turtle, obviously, you mentioned absolutely phenomenal season. Just not the name that you would have expected amongst the his teammates with All Just in Time, CMAC, and Nine Eyebrows. We talked a little bit last season about the team that won. Name escapes me, but some of these players being all one season, and Turtle's like the new addition to that. And he's proven himself as being sort of the carry for this team. So we'll see if he's able to carry them back into the series tonight because it's pretty important that they get this win and tie things up, being down 4 points to one.
Yeah, you never want to go down two series early on and then have to have all three of your players sweep out. That is always a very, very stressful time for teams. So right now, like you said, Turtle going to do his best to go ahead and get this team back into it. And we're looking at Druid, Paladin, Rogue, Warrior for both players across the board. Could be a mirror match. We don't know the deck lists. It is closed list, of course. So any thoughts on what the bands might be here tonight, Icecleese?
I mean, first glance, it's probably Warrior bands, I would guess. Warrior lines up pretty well against Druid and Rogue. It's not always dead to Paladin, so it wouldn't shock me to see both players ban the Warrior unless they have some kind of sneaky lineup thought in mind. But the default I would assume would be a double Warrior ban here.
All right, so what would you say if I told you that neither player banned Warrior?
Then I'd say that we're going to see some Paladin bans instead.
Well, one is correct. So JR banned Turtle's Rogue, and then Turtle banned JR's Paladin. So knowing that, do you think that there's any sort of strategy here that either player's going? Obviously, they're not going for the same strategy since they're the same
Right.
four classes and they're banning differently. There must be some sort of variance here in strategy. What do you think that means?
I think I don't think we see token druids actually. I think leaving the warrior up kind of leads to it being like a heavier druid, either guardian druid or maybe clown druid, something like that. That kind of has some susceptibility to rogue. So I think Jared banned the rogue, so wouldn't be surprised to see Jared coming out with something like that. And then from Turtle's perspective, he left the rogue in, banned the paladin, so maybe it's a Highlander druid from Turtle. So I think that's where we kind of see some of the deviation is what that druid bring. So I think Paladin's likely to be Broom. I think Rogue. You go either way with Roll Kick and Aggro, but I don't think we learn anything from the bands based on that. So I think it's the Druid that really changes based on the leaving the Warrior up.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I mean, the rogue, if it is like a stealth rogue, has sweep potential. It just has a chance to go off on any given 3 game set, and you just draw the nuts each time. You just sweep out your opponent before they can do anything. So it's possible that's something that JR's hoping to avoid by the Rogue Man instead, but we'll have to see here. So we'll let these players know they're ready to go. We'll have Turtle on the bottom of your screen. JR will be on the top when we get going. While I let them know, Isocles, why don't you let everybody know what it does for us when they subscribe to our Twitch channel?
So for every person that subscribes to the THL Twitch channel, you give Donde another idea for an off-season tournament. So it's like an angel getting his wings every time something happens. This is Donde getting a creative burst of inspiration. So if you subscribe to the THL channel, not only do you support Donde's creativity, you also get to participate in all these great events, such as the Octathlon that we've got coming up, all the series that we've got going. The subscriptions go straight into that prize pool. As well as just letting us do everything that we do to bring you the best possible league format series out there this side of Blizzard themselves. So please hit that subscribe button. If you already subscribed, please gift a sub. It is a great month to gift. We're in March Madness, so you might as well just hook other people up, spread the love, and get ready for some awesome Hearthstone coming out with your support.
Thank you for the shout out to the Octathlon, which is, yes, the newest off-season tournament we just announced. So if you're watching and you haven't checked out the Discord, definitely go and take a look at that and see if that's something you're interested in participating in. There are no requirements as far as participation is concerned. You just have to find a team. So if you find a team you want to play, you're in. That's all there is to it.
We are up in the game, and looks like both players had the idea that if I'm banning a class that they're not banning, I want to play that class. So JR bringing Rogue and Turtle bringing Paladin. And it looks like we've got World Kick versus Broom. So pretty even match to start with. Go a long way to deciding the series. Often when you have a match like this in game one, it could go either way, especially in Hero in particular. It can really make a difference on the way this plays out. So.
And we are up on the screen here. They did get going very quickly. One of the things that I find interesting here is that we've got this. Well, the Zealot's dead. Was that off of a first day of school? We didn't get into the game quite quick enough. Yeah, it looks like it was off of first day of school and not in the deck.
So the first day of school brought some minions that aren't too bad with the Younger Bender and the Brazen Zealot. So pretty reasonable. So JR opted to go ahead and dagger and kill the 2-1 before it could get out of control. And then following up with a pretty standard Foxy Swindle play that gives some decent options. His hand's a little clunky here. You could opt to backstab one of these minions and kill it off, but just leaves his 3-2 down for the contest.
And just not going to respect that 3-2 on the board there for JR. Turtle just sends the 2 damage to face. Looking at the hand texture here for JR, as you mentioned, it's a World Kick Rogue. We see a couple decent combo cards in the hand here with, the Nitro Boost is not a combo card, a corrupt card, I should say. But both of those secret passages in hand early, is that, in your opinion, is that a good thing here, or something that you're hoping to avoid as Rogue?
I don't think you want both early, because you can't really play them early. Where they're really good is either when you're just completely controlling the board, like JR is now, so one is pretty good in the situation, and the other is going to be good late as sort of a refill, or sometimes a desperation play, but sometimes just looking for something you can just get out. But here JR gets a little punished for playing the World Kick with only one combo activator. It's probably fine, but it means he needs to be a little bit greedier with the second one, so we'll see how this ends up playing out, but now he really only option is to play one of the Nitro Boost on this 2-1. That 1 health minion is always very susceptible to Paladins and their pin-winning ways, so we'll see how Turtle opts to respond here. Picking up the Aldor kind of changes the equation a little bit, just slamming that on 5 always feels good for Paladin.
Yeah, that definitely changed the texture of that play. Like, it almost was certainly going to be a pen flinger, maybe like Secret Keeper with Blessing of Wisdom on it just to get it back in your hand. But now that 4-1's going to live for an extra turn here.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Stampede and Kodo, Void Drinker are the 2 options off of Jandis. Have to imagine that we're going to see an illusion on the 3-5.
Yeah, I think so. JR actually picked the other one. And I think the thought process there is because there's not a minion on the board, the 3-5 is the obvious choice. So you're hoping to maybe eat a pen here on the 3-5, and then
which he will.
reflect back and have to hit the 4-5 now.
Yeah, a little bit of misdirection. I like that. It's just a small little bluff that Turtle has to respect the likelihood of what you said. You're usually going to go with the non-taunt minion as the illusion.
Yeah, now Turtle's at risk of losing his pen if he doesn't find a Libram here, which does not.
He did,
so
well, he found a Libram, just one that was far too expensive to play. So yeah, that Penflinger's not coming back.
Yeah, the free Libram.
Yes.
So that's interesting because that wasn't necessarily something Turtle had to do. I mean, the Rogue was putting out some amount of pressure, but it wasn't necessarily a desperate situation. So Turtle opting to go ahead and forfeit that Penflinger now. We'll see if that comes back to hurt him later in the game.
Yeah, like you said, he's on a pretty decent amount of health right now, 27, and now going back to full with this Libram of Hope play on 7 here. And might have opted to want to keep that Penflinger around for a little bit more versatility. Tends to see a lot of the lackeys like we're seeing right now come out for JR. A lot of 1 health things that you can ping off against a Rogue.
Yeah, wouldn't be shocked to see JR maybe consider Secret Passage here. This hand doesn't deal with this 8-8 very well. I mean, you could opt to Scimitar, maybe rush in the 4/4, maybe just trade in both minions, the 3/2 and what would then be a 5/4, and that's in the Scimitar face. But yeah, some interesting choices. Like the game started out very quickly, both players playing pretty fast, and now we're at the point I think where it's into a little bit more of a decision making for each player, trying to figure out how to navigate. Turtle's played kind of almost like he's been on the back foot. Playing that Penflinger, letting it die, playing the Libram for not much healing, just to have it out there. I mean, that's it's an interesting read on the game from his perspective on what JR has been able to do, which hasn't been, other than the Janus, that much pressure. So.
And Turtle's got both of those Librams of Justice in hand, so if there is Questing Adventurer comes out and ends up getting rolling very quickly, or if Edwin happens to be either in the deck or generated off a World Kick, there are answers in Turtle's hand for that. But otherwise, they're not really been useful to him. So he's had kind of a handful of dead cards, or close to it, like with Animated Broomstick and no Barov or anything of that nature.
Yeah, I think most likely what Turtle wants to do, looking at this hand, is be the control, just grind this game out, try to run the road out of resources. You've seen 1 World Kick. You have answers to Questings and a potential Edwin. So you know that the longer this game goes, the better your chances are of winning. And you're not seeing that much pressure from JR, especially now that JR is playing this Eviscerate into the 4/1, opting to try to get an extra boost instead of using the money for this. So I find that kind of interesting. The Bone Wraith does protect the 3/2, which is pretty reasonable. So we'll see what Turtle does here to answer the board. You might see one of those Libram of Justice played now, just to clear up this board.
Yeah, that in conjunction with the Wild Pyro would be a nice clear.
Or just the Devout People is fine as well. That's his 2nd Broom, so Turtle's now played both Brooms, which is pretty interesting. So really going to be reliant on those Librams to clean up any control threats from the other side.
There's Liadrin, one of the better value generators in this deck for Turtle. And we've seen no Librams of Wisdom played, no Librams of Wisdom drawn, for that matter. So right now, that Liadrin's only going to toss back 1 Libram of Hope and 1 Hand of A'dal, as far as, or actually 2 Blessing of Wisdom as well.
Yeah, so this is an interesting choice for JR, and whether he wants to follow this up with the Secret Passage now, with 4 mana remaining. I think he probably do, because I don't think he can just sit here and not do anything.
Right. Which he will.
Get some Miscreant, which is probably the best thing he could have hoped for here. Be able to Miscreant, Shadow Step Miscreant again, gives him a ton of refuel that he desperately needed in the situation.
That's exactly what we're going to see. Yeah, now he's looking at a hand where after the Swindle and Eviscerate get tossed back, he'll have a handful of lackeys. Actually, he didn't play the Evil Miscreant the 2nd time, but ends up with a Solarian off of the Faceless Lackey. That's a really high value 2-drop.
Yeah. So this kind of puts Turtle in an upper spot. He doesn't have anything that he wants to do here, but it also can't really ignore what's on the board. So Does he just want to play a Pyro? And that's interesting. Okay. So you could hear the Lee rooms on their own are enough for this, but now JR can probably do a whole bunch of stuff here. He doesn't have to Secret Passage. Headcrack's interesting just to kind of put Turtle on not really much of a clock, I guess, with all the healing, but it's something that you can do every turn, given what's in your hand. This way you can save your Secret Passage because you can miscreant and then figure out what else, what other lackeys give you options.
It's also a guaranteed combo activator for Miscreant, or not Miscreant, I'm sorry, for World Kick. I assume there to be a second World Kick in this deck somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. So a couple aggressive options, but I mean, it's tough to say that aggressive option is going to pay off. Might have taken the Dragon Sword in this situation, but JR senses blood in the water and wants to kind of push, and then of course makes the trade. So
let's have that Secret Passage. That's 4 cards worth of gas that he's going to have.
It's true.
And no one Eviscerate still to be played.
Yeah, I guess the Pyro is just too threatening of the minions to leave on the board. Turtle finally finding the Libram of Wisdom that he's been looking for all game.
Yeah, both of them in the bottom 7.
Be able to create some legend value for himself now. Yeah, that's a good point. Turtle's gone through his deck extremely quickly with the Blessing of Wisdom off the Crab Rider, playing both hands with all. Just a lot farther along in the deck than JR, which is usually not the case in Paladin vs. Rogue.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because you had said a few turns ago that you thought that Turtle's main route might be to grind this game out, and you don't want a high deck velocity when you're trying to grind a game out like this. You want to be at least even with an opponent, especially since Rogue doesn't heal, and you do heal in massive chunks. So as long as you're close-ish on cards, then that's usually the route that you'd want to take. But Turtle is pushing the accelerator here and trying to get further into the deck. Meanwhile, JR will rip the second Secret Passage, and there's a questing finally, and a World Kick as well.
Oh wow, so he's going to be able to generate a whole bunch of value here. Is he going to play the...
Yeah, there's the World Kick. He picks up a Coerce off of the World Kick as the first card. Wasn't sure if he might Shadow Step the World Kick or Shadow Step the Plunderer. He's going to opt to do the Plunderer, get a second card right away, second Coerce. That's actually both very, very useful against the big taunts that Turtle will be able to put in the way. Especially after this Liadrin, I presume, comes down within the next turn or two here. If there even is a second turn after this.
Yeah, Turtle needs something that can actually hit the questing. The Penflinger is exactly what he needed here. This lets him clear up just about all of this board, pretty close to it, being able to Penflinger and then shoot down the questing. Let's see what he has to do behind it. It might end up leaving his Wolf Kick alive, unless he wants to sacrifice his second thing. But it might be worth it just to ensure that this Wolf Kick doesn't survive.
Right.
But I think this game's going to be over. I think there's enough damage for the Nitro Boost and the Headcrack that JR is going to take game 1.
Yeah, Headcrack, don't need a combo at this point. Just go ahead and slam it for 3. There's enough damage on board even with the Headcrack itself, so going to prep it. Yep, prep the Headcrack, Nitro Boost, there it is.
The victory is...
Yeah, so some of Turtle's decisions earlier in the game to use the brooms when he did, I mean, I probably feel like he had to do those things. I think the one question mark might have been playing the Libram of Hope at the time. It was a lot of pressure to just kind of put back, but Rogue almost always has an answer for that. And sometimes you want to save that for a more opportune moment. I don't know, it's just kind of a weird game from the Paladin's perspective of having to do things you don't really want to do at a time that you didn't really want to do them, and then just never gaining a foothold against the Rogue. So
right. And I mean,
we'll see what he brings back.
The Librams of Wisdom being buried there really lowered the flexibility for the Penflingers. I mean, I know he only had the one early on, but you really want to get those discounted early so you can have that flexibility to do lots of things in your turn and fill out your mana. And he just never really got there. Like you said, he's on the back foot most of the game, and Rogue just kept pushing. JR pushed in all the right spots.
Yep. So I would probably expect between Druid and Warrior that we'll see the Warrior coming back for Turtle. Most Warriors line up pretty well against the World Kick Rogue.
Makes sense, yeah.
They're in range, enrage, excuse me. But even the Control Warriors, Bomb is probably the weakest option, but most Warriors would line up pretty well here. So.
That's what we're gonna see. Warrior of undetermined type so far. All these cards are in a lot of.
ETC.
Yes, Broom. Actually, yes, Broom is an ETC special.
So that does line up extremely well against the Rogue. Able to generally answer all the Rogue's threats, and at the point in time, you can just kind of sit there and wait for your combo pieces. Rogue has no healing, always has to play minions. So this looks pretty good from Turtle's perspective, getting the right matchup here. So we'll see how it plays out. Having the ink card to start with is also pretty massive. Just being able to draw through, find those pirates,
right?
Be able to fuel your draw. So pretty good opening hand for Turtle.
Meanwhile, Pharaoh Cat, the turn 1 play for JR, it gives pretty much one of the worst minions you can see off of it in Wrapped Golem. It's just not a card that you can really fit into a turn well as a rogue, even though you know, it's tough to remove at times. It's basically that and Colossus of the Moon are, I think, the worst Pharaoh Cat draws. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sorry. The Mummy as well.
The Mummy, Generous Mummy.
Generous Mummy.
I know once in a while you can make the case that you just slam it when you draw it right away, you know, before it can completely spiral out of control. But yeah, it's rough. So Turtle opting to coin Ankar, get that on the board, get the draw going with 2 Evil Core Masters to follow up. So he's going to be curving out pretty nicely, and has a Battle Rage. So I mean, really, like, this is setting up extremely well for the Warrior in this game.
Yeah, I like the coin into the Ankar there, knowing that you've got the turn 3 plays, and also now picking up Sword Eater for 4, just even better curve. Or you know, you can Evil Quartermaster and use this Kobold Lackey if the opportunity presents on this next turn.
Right. So JR Scott bot into 1 thief. Let's see what he draws. He might just Brain Freeze is actually pretty good here. So let him fill out the curve and save the backstab. But no, he's going to play the Nitro Boost now. Okay, so opting to use his face to put his minion, save the Brain Freeze.
Sure.
Later.
It's only 2 damage. I think that's a fine choice.
Yeah, probably see this Kobold Lackey take out the shot bot to prevent that minion. It's interesting to use the Nitro Boost there. I don't mind it just to, you know, give value to your weapon and clear a couple minions, but Jay had to expect that the minion was never going to be able to attack with that. And sometimes it's important to save that damage against a warrior, because you kind of need to be able to find extra damage dealing with all the armor gain that they have. So, curious choice, but we'll see how it pays off. Being able to shout us up a World Kick is also pretty nice. Be able to get that value going.
Yeah, picked up the Evil Miscreant as the combo card off of it, so you know, Miscreant generating more value there with the World Kick next turn. A lot of resources going to be in hand here for JR. Turtle slams down that Sword Eater almost immediately, clears up the shot bot, and we'll see where JR's turn takes him here after the World Kick Masters played a second time. Ooh, a Wand Thief, always a great card to get off the World Kick. And Oak Scimitar, just a lot of really, really good generation here. And Evocation, yeah, why not turn into to Major Oak from the Halloween Brawl?
Another Nitro Boost I would expect at this point.
Yeah, it's either that or Sinister Strike.
Evolve the Miscreant into something more fun. Works out pretty well. Pretty good turn for JR here.
JR looking forward to classic mode with that Tazingo.
So I think you're going to see a skipper turn.
Yeah, that would make sense here.
See what else he has to play with it. Able to evolve, and then the Brute, and then a Battle Rage behind it. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, cheap Brute, always nice, clears the board, and this is why Warrior does so well against Rogue. Even with everything JR's been doing, Turtle barely damaged, and now the dominant presence on the board with a handful of cards.
Yep. So we're sitting on ETC and 1 Bloodsworn. So we're pretty close to lethal next turn, depending on what JR leaves on the board. Doesn't really have good answers to the minions here. So we'll see how much damage JR is able to take off the board, but Turtle's going to be looking at lethal here pretty quickly.
JR continues to look to draw with Swindle. Doesn't pick up anything obviously playable as he was out of mana. But yeah, this is it.
With the broom especially, that might just do
Yeah.
it. Because you got 5, yeah, I guess getting rid of the skipper to start with, but I guess he's not even looking for it, but I think he had 5 damage with 2 ETCs. It would have been, I guess, 4 extra on the Titan. So maybe not quite there, but getting close. And I mean,
Yeah,
at
such
this
a
point,
dominant
there's not much
position. Yeah.
JR's not going to be able to survive much longer. Because he has to play minions, and at some point, Terrell's just going to play out the combo in this game.
Yeah, this turns somewhat perfunctory for JR, as it's not really going to matter here once the turn gets passed over to Turtle. We're going to see the ETC fireworks, and this will be a 1-1 series.
Yep. Especially with 2 minions on the board, just a little extra damage. You don't have to worry about the having to trade into anything, but JR does have minions to allow him to trade, which is going to be eviscerates the 2-1, so he can push face damage. Yes, that's fine, but...
Always backstab one of your own, but I think even then it's... Oh, Shadow Step and backstab actually might keep him alive. Well, never mind. If he's going to play the Wand Thief again, then that's irrelevant.
I mean, to his mind, like, he hasn't considered Broom yet, or ATC yet, because he haven't seen a Broom or anything that would give it away. But yeah, with 4 damage already on the board, ETC plus like just 2 copies of ETC, add 4 damage to 2 attacks, 3 attacks, and you're done. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the math comes out to a win for Turtle for sure here, and we'll let it play out.
So Turtle had banned JR's Paladin, which usually would be the answer to this warrior. So JR now with his own warrior, depending on what type of warrior it is. So ETC warrior does reasonably well against other warriors. Bomb warrior, I think you might have a little bit of advantage depending on if you're able to get the bombs out quickly enough to disrupt their drawing through the deck quickly. But JR brought the heavier druid that we kind of anticipated with the rogue ban. Then I would probably expect JR to bring out that warrior now, or druid now. Excuse me.
Well, what we do know for sure is that Rogue is gone, and we're at 1-1 here in the last hero standing. So that warrior's coming back now. Knowing what it is, obviously a huge advantage for JR, because he can tend to play around like the wide minion boards. Is there any other consideration he's making here outside of just like, I don't want to play like a minion-based deck, or is there, do you think he planned on seeing an ETC warrior in pre-game prep? Is what I guess I'm asking here.
I think you have to. I think if you're leaving up a warrior, you're figuring that you have an answer to it. Maybe he was relying on the paladin for that, but if you leave up a deck and hero, you almost always want to have 2 answers, because if you have only 1 answer and that 1 answer gets banned, then you lose. So I think it's going to be the druid. I think that's going to be the deck that probably has the best shot at beating the warrior here.
The deliberation continues for JR, because Turtle doesn't have a choice. He's going to play the warrior no matter what here. And JR just maybe flipping a coin, rolling a dice. I'm not sure what he's doing over there. And there we go into game 3. And it will be a warrior versus warrior.
Interesting. Okay.
See, I trusted you, and I put druid on the screen.
So far it looks like a similar warrior. We're not seeing bomb. We're not seeing pirates. So we're curious to see what JR has. Blazewing, this might be like a Silas ETC warrior.
Yeah.
potentially. Or Silas OTK Warrior, excuse me. Getting my acronyms mixed
I
up.
I
but
knew what you meant. I knew what you. And I think the viewers did too, in the future.
Yeah. Rattle Warriors is a nice pickup to have, especially with 2 Bloodsworns. So JR can get to turn 9 without being under too much pressure. That works out pretty well. But ETC doesn't always mind seeing a Rattle War because it's something you can throw all your stuff into. So. We see from Turtle's perspective, he also has a Rattle War. He has a little bit of a potential damage in his hand. So I kind of like where Turtle's starting this game. He's carving out pretty nicely. JR is going to have a Sword Eater as well, but the fact that Turtle has some of those damage options in hand, the Shield of Honor, is pretty nice. So, your goal here as the ETC warrior, as another warrior, is just to try to keep the armor low enough to where your ETC combo can be lethal as soon as possible. So. The Circus Amalgam pickup off the Sky Raider worked out pretty well. Opting to go with that over the Sword Eater, just make JR have a little more awkward trade into a higher attack minion. Just again with that goal of keeping the opposing warrior's life total-ish controllable.
Yeah, this doesn't quite reach Priest Mirror levels of deliberate play, but we will see kind of the slower jockeying for position over the course of this game here.
Mm-hmm. So JR playing a Bulwark. This does lead me to believe it's Silas. Silas OTK. I mean, it could also just be a straight control warrior, but most likely one of those 2 win conditions is included in the deck, and Bulwark usually signifies that it's going to be a Silas.
Yeah, I think with when you're playing Control Warrior, it's kind of one of those situations when you're deck building, like, why would I not at least have that as an option in my deck? Because Silas itself is a card that can be useful in a lot of matchups just to steal a threat and give, something junky to your opponent. And then you're just basically throwing in one additional card at that point in the Ashbound, or Soulbound Ash Tongue, sorry. In order to have that extra win condition. So I think it's almost a no-brainer at most points for a warrior building a deck that way.
Turtle continues to get rewarded off of these Sky Raiders with the Amalgam and then the Corsair chipping off the weapon durability from JR. So right now in a very dominant position. Oh my gosh, what a freaking evolve.
That is almost, if not the nuts, I think, for a 5-drop, unless you're looking for something very specific. But just in terms of stats, it is fantastic.
And the fact that it has taunt means JR can't even ping off a 1-attack minion, so the Bulwark isn't even useful in the situation.
Right.
So he's just gonna face tank it to hopefully draw a Skipper that gets followed up by a Barrow. But oh my god,
does get a Skipper.
Yeah, I mean it's still a turn away. I don't know, it's not looking great for JR here. His choice of the warrior. Maybe the Druid just isn't in a position to handle those warriors, so ETC warrior might be carrying the day for Turtle in this series.
So 11 damage on board right now with a shield. That makes it 14. Wait, it's just lethal because Sword Eater.
Yep, you got there.
Got there, yep. I got there. He gets there faster, and it appears that you were already there as well.
You were already talking, so I'll let you. The moment of realization is pretty nice for everyone at home. So.
It's sometimes you're just so focused on what what you want to do in future turns that all of a sudden that lethal just pops right up on you and says, hey, I'm here. You don't need to worry about future turns because the game's over. And a warrior-warrior matchup that goes only 4 minutes is kind of a boon as far as streaming is concerned when we're on a tight schedule with 3 matches tonight. So we are going to see it's a 2-1 lead after Turtle dropped game 1.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the highlight there was the evolve into the Earth Elemental, but even without that, Turtle was in such a dominant position. He had gotten good pirates off the Sky Raiders. I think his deck lined up pretty well into JR's anyway, and the way the game flow had gone, I think JR was always going to have a tough road in that matchup. But the extra benefit off the premier evolved minion just sealed the deal, and like you said, prevented us from having a drawn-out warrior mirror. I think that one about is as would be expected from the way that Turtles start went. So yeah, let's look at Highlander Druid for JR. Well, we saw him throw back the arbor up, but coming back and with ease behind it. Oh, I guess this could be a Treant. I take that back.
Yeah, it could be Treant, it could be Token. I mean, usually...
No, it's not Highlander. I take that back. Fungal Fortunes means it's not Highlander. So
yes, correct. Yeah, Fungal Fortune's not... And that would explain why he did not play the Druid into Warrior, as it is not a good matchup here.
Yeah, and it depends on how heavy his deck is. He's playing things like Gibberling and trying to get on the board very early and use that as the path to victory. Yeah, you're going to have a really tough time. But if you're running maybe 2 Soul of Forest with Runic Carvings and some other sort of later game plays as the Treant, then you can potentially run the Warrior out of removal. And you really only need 1 board to stick unless the game does a ton of armor. So there's a chance that this might work out for JR, but so far Turtle's been able to put stats on the board every turn, which does make it difficult for the Treant to overcome.
And now we've reached that point of the game where JR has no real immediate threats at his hand. Like Arbor Up by itself is just not too fantastic, but now there's the... Well, Gibberling is going to get tossed away because Fungal Fortunes manages to find what I assume is one of only 2 minions in this deck.
I think this game's going to wrap up pretty quickly. By that JR's playing the Gibberling in his deck means he may only have 1 Soul of Forest, probably doesn't have those later game Treant options, probably doesn't run Aeroponics, so he's just going to have a hard time sustaining in this game, and being this far behind this early is just brutal. So playing Dreamway into Arbor Up is probably okay. You can also use a Lunar Eclipse to hang on the 2-2, but this is just pretty brutal for JR right now.
And Turtle clearly recognizing that, using the buff on the Warmaul Challenger and then immediately duplicating it, realizing he wants to be on board as much as possible to deny JR from ever getting a foothold in this game. And also Risky Skipper in hand means that there are just plenty of options for Turtle to control this game going forward.
Right. Yeah. JR is never going to be able to stick board at this point, so... I guess the way you play Lunar Eclipse, but I mean you can't even kill what's there. Never mind establish his own presence. So it's unfortunate that the series went this direction. He didn't have the answer for the enraged ETC Warrior, and it looks like that's going to be the difference. And that's the interesting thing about Hero is, if you can pick a deck that your opponent doesn't have an answer to, then that's a victory. And I think that's what we're seeing here from Turtle with the this Warrior carrying the day with most likely 3 straight victories. I mean, this game's not over. I shouldn't toss like it is, but just knowing how this matchup goes, seeing what Turtle's been able to do from the beginning of this game and what JR had in his hand, it's a tough spot for the Druid.
And you mentioned it at the top as we were discussing it in the pregame. You expected a double Warrior ban.
Mm-hmm.
And to see that, not only was it not a double Warrior ban, both Warriors were left up.
Right.
It's just it's a tough it's tough to go through that thought process and just see like where did JR end up in leaving this Warrior up if he didn't have an actual answer to it in his lineup. But this is a pretty good turn with the double Arbor Up for JR.
Yeah, you might have been maybe putting reliance on the Paladin to be that answer. Or potentially his Warrior. Maybe he thought his Warrior had a better shot against most Warriors. It just turned out that the version of the Enraged ETC Warrior that Turtle brought had a pretty good path to victory. So this is interesting. So Turtle's actually ignoring this board, which is... I take that back. He's got the Brood coming down, so he's not ignoring the board. I was looking at his attacks and not his mana.
Yeah, he was just maximizing attacks first and then armor smithing, Blood Boil Brooding afterwards. It's going to be a full board clear again.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I stopped myself before I embarrassed myself too much further. But yeah, this is a game-ending, series-ending play. So this will even up the series at 5 points apiece, right? Because I think Clarity got the 3-1 win in the first series, so the Turtle following it up with a 3-1 win of his own. And we are down to a best of 3 in the Hero semifinals.
Yes, we will. It will be 5-5.
I'm guessing you don't have any indication of when the other matches are taking place.
I do not know off the top of my head, unless there's something in line to be played on stream.
I know we've got a couple legacy matches coming up after this, and tomorrow there's a couple pro matches on Sunday Showdown. I'm not sure about the Soulstone. I think the potential last legacy game is one of the Soulstone matches, so I don't know what else might be on tap. But maybe we'll find out. So.
And there it is. The concede for JR leading to the 3-1 win here for Turtle. And so that series, I think, I think that was just a very interesting right from the jump with the decisions on the bans. I always find the game planning in Last Year Standing so intriguing with how you craft your lineups, because like you said, as we were talking about during one of those games, you have to have an answer, at least 2 answers usually, to everything, especially anything that you're not planning on banning. Obviously, if you ban it, whatever. But if you're leaving something up and that your game plan against it gets banned, that is so risky. And if that's indeed what happened here, where Turtle, getting rid of the Paladin really cost JR the series, that's just a tough way to go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the difference between Hero and Legacy is that you can lose in prep or win in prep. I mean, it goes both ways, right? You can make a call that the deck that you have isn't going to be answered and unlikely to be banned. You can also lose by just overestimating what your answers are. So, but as opposed to that, Legacy matches, it almost always comes down to play, because you have to win with all 3 decks. You can't just have one deck that goes crazy. You can have one deck that completely fails, which I guess is the flip side of that coin. But generally speaking, the matches come more down to the play than the prep on the Legacy side.
Well, we can see if we can get Turtle in here for a quick interview. We do have a few minutes before we're scheduled to start our next match, thankfully. There's a little bit of time here, so I'm going to go ahead and message Turtle and see if he's interested. All right, Turtle will be making his way in just a second.
And yeah. Well, I guess I'm to say a Turtle right away when he joins. It's too late now, but.
Wait, what was that?
No. Add him to the interview, and then I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind on his conduct. Unless that's not him, we'll see. Yeah, I see him. He's talking in chat 10 minutes ago. So.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers. Turtle. But that's okay.
Just waiting for him to accept the friend request in Discord.
I think it happens to everyone on stream the first time they're on stream. I don't know if this is his first time on stream, but you just get excited. You want to come talk about it because you want to talk about the games while they're happening. You don't realize that when you do that, then you're giving away the game. Hey, man. How's it going?
Hello.
You spoiled the stream. I was in here watching. I see you join. I'm like, now everyone's going to know the stream's over, or his series is over. So.
Yeah, my bad. Forgot that there was like delay.
Yep. Yes, sir. But congratulations on the win. Well played by you. So what went into your preparation on bringing that warrior to the series?
So pretty much I thought Enrage Warrior just was good into all of his decks after I banned Paladin, because like it's just bad into Paladin, but since I was banning Paladin, it's good into like all the other archetypes that he can bring. So I was just gonna go like plain just normal Enrage, but then I thought maybe he's gonna bring a slower Druid, and if he brings a slower Druid, then I teched in the ETC combo for just a hedge against a slower Druid without losing too many matchup points into the token Druid and the aggro rogue.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We were talking before the game started that, I was actually predicting a double warrior ban, and then when I saw the bans were Paladin and Rogue, I was like, okay, well, that probably means that there's a heavier druid coming down the line just to deal with the warrior. But yeah, so good call by you on bringing the ETC. But so what was going through your mind in the first game, queuing the paladin first and sort of running into the buzzsaw that was his world kick in that game?
Yeah, I just my game plan going into the series was I just assumed my paladin was getting banned because I thought it would have like the best spreads, and like I'm kind of known as a paladin player, so I just thought that JR might ban it. So my game plan was just after paladin gets banned, just sweep with warrior. But since my paladin didn't get banned, I just queued that first because it has like the most 50-50 matchups in my opinion, which is typically how I like to lead in hero. Just lead the deck that like is even to most things, and then after you like win or lose, like target something based off that. So since my paladin was like even into most of his decks, decided to lead that just so a good counter of mine didn't get sniped.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's funny that you banned Paladin and led Paladin, he banned Rogue and led Rogue, so you both kind of had the same idea of the deck that you thought was the power deck in the matchup, being a good one to start with. But so talk me through some of the choices in that Paladin game. Sacrificing the pen to kind of stop some of the damage early from the Jandice, using your brooms pretty early. Were you just feeling like you were on the back foot that game, or is that kind of how you play that deck generally anyway?
Most of the time, like against more aggressive decks like Rogue, when I was off to a slower start than he was. Against like Rogue, Hunter, like anything more aggressive, I'm fine just dumping the pen and dumping the brooms because like those games aren't going to go long enough for you to need to get massive value off those cards anyways. So just like my entire game plan was just like survive until I can drop Liadrin, and I almost got there, but I didn't quite survive.
Yeah, was there any consideration to dropping Liadrin maybe a turn or two earlier than you ended up doing it? Like, were you just really waiting for the wisdoms, or?
Yeah, I think I waited too long on the Liadrin, got way too greedy off wanting, what you said, the wisdoms off of it. I feel like the play was definitely just dropping it, ignoring the wisdom value. Because I still would have gotten back the hope, and I think the hope would have helped seal out the game.
It would have been close. I think it might.
Yeah, it would have been a lot closer than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually surprised, like the way you played the game, kind of as you described, of just kind of defending out the gate, and then getting to a point where you could kind of come back. Like, it never really materialized because you just kept hitting the right threats and the right damage, and just kind of overwhelmed. I was surprised the game went that way, but you turned the series around. So congrats to you, and congrats to the Tom Corny. So any scheduling tips for us? When do we expect these last three matches to be played?
Let me go into our team chat and check when the rest of the matches are happening. It looks like CMAC is playing Sunday at 10 p.m. on stream, and it looks like 9 is playing at Sunday 2 p.m. on stream, and Justin is also playing Sunday on stream.
Perfect. It looks like we had all the matches on stream.
We did. I was hunting for them while also setting up our third match as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so it looks like there will be a lot of our matches streamed tomorrow, later in the day.
Perfect. Well, there you go.
Yeah, always excited to have.
For us, because we're sitting here, the content creators, and wondering if the matches were on stream or not before this series started. So, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Turtle, anything else you want to say before we move on to our second match of the night?
Nope. Just thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, as always, thanks for offering up your match to be streamed. It's always appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good night. Good luck the rest of the way. All right. So with that being said, we are going to start up the second match shortly. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at that matchup. Just got to transition the screen here.
We have first.
Always just in time. He of the 9-0 record versus Myanodon. Myanodon making his third consecutive appearance on Salty Saturday. We'll see if it's a third consecutive W for him. But right now, this is, I believe, a 6-5 lead for the Foolish Madmen in the series. Yeah, 6-5 lead. So, as we talked about at the top, either team can still win this series. If both players from the same team win these next few matches, be it Always Just in Time and Diamond or Myanodon and Slad, we're going to be looking at a champion tonight.
Pretty hype. So, I was watching the stream last night. I don't want to say I was rooting for anyone, but I wasn't too disappointed to see Riley Zombie win, knowing that it guaranteed that both of our matches were going to be meaningful. So, Certainly wish all the players all the best in every match. But it did, from a content perspective, work out for us. So, and Maya being on stream for the third time in a row, yeah, I mean, why not? Let's just keep running back. It's got the audience, and might as well keep giving them what they want. More Myanodon is never a bad thing. So.
Yes, I am excited to have both players of this caliber, of course, on a stream match is pretty phenomenal. But we're looking at some pretty interesting lineups too. So we are shifting gears now from last year's standing over to Conquest, where every deck has to win in your lineup. So Paladin, Rogue, Warlock, Warrior for Justin, and then Mage, Paladin, Priest, Warrior for Myanodon. So a little bit of variance here in the lineup. So what are you expecting to see here, Isocles?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting that if you look at F2L's lineup, I think F2L kind of does this sometimes where they kind of lock in on a lineup with only a couple deviations. So Marty B brought Rogue and Slod brought Druid. But for the most part, they all brought Mage, Paladin, Warriors. They all were thinking something here. And I'm curious what that is. And we talked to Matt last week about his lineup and ended up being a Warrior target. I'm wondering if this is kind of going down the same path. With Mage, Paladin, Priest, and Warrior, that can line up pretty well at beating another player's Warrior, and not to mention those classes are pretty good against Paladin. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Myanodon actually ban the Warlock. Could also be a Rogue ban based on the first two matches from F2L side. Marty B and Radazan both banned Warlock. So it's either going to be Rogue or Warlock, I think, from Myanodon side. From Always Just in Time side, I think he's probably leaving the Priest up. I think he's probably leaving. He's probably leaving the Paladin up. So it comes down to Major Warrior. He might be banning Mage here, or he could be banning Warrior. One of those two, I think. So definitely different approaches from both players.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to get in contact with the players here, let them know they're ready to go ahead and ban.
Yeah, I don't see Justin in game, but that might just be me because he added me, and it shows Myanodon battling a friend. So might just have one of those situations where I need to relog real quick. So
I'm seeing the same thing as you, though.
Okay. So we'll just refresh that and figure out if it's on our end or if it's on their end. So I'm always happy to claim user error on my own side, but we'll see in just 1 second.
All right, Justin is saying he is all set to go.
All right, I see Justin in game. I see Myanodon in game. It says Myanodon's doing battle with a friend, and Justin is hanging out in the main menu. So, Myanodon, what are you doing?
Justin says that he does not see Myanodon online. So I guess my curiosity is if Myanodon is playing someone else, and in which case, why?
Yeah.
I wonder if he has another series that maybe like a pro series match that's run overtime.
Possibly. Have you messaged Myanodon? Because if you have, then I want to feel bad about messaging him also.
No, I was about to. So if you already have, then that works.
Just give our viewers a peek behind the curtain as we iron out our streaming coordination here.
This does happen from time to time on the streams where we're trying to get 3 people or 3 matches lined up back to back to back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, technically we are a minute early on that.
Yeah, I mean he's got another minute before we start to rage out on him.
We'll see. He has not yet responded to me, so maybe he's doing some preparation before the match, and just have to wait for a second while still in the screen. So a lot of possibilities. Give him the benefit of the doubt. He says that he is almost done here. So that leads me to believe that he is in another match. So we get to filibuster a little bit more, Dande. So
we do, something that we love to do here. So I guess since we're about to jump into Legacy, let's talk about the Legacy season as a whole, because we're about to wrap this whole thing up. I know I was on a team that was not a playoff-bound team this time, and that's the first, actually, second season in a row, but it's also the first time that we have been without Rabobson for a while on our team, and now he's going on to what appears to be great success here with F2L. Not salty or anything about it. Pretty excited for my former teammate, but Icebleeze, how did you feel your legacy season went?
So I have been a captain now that was my third season as captain, I think. And was it my third? Maybe it was my second. I don't remember. They all blew together because they all have been terrible. I must not be a good captain. I don't know. But no, things. I thought I had a good team, and it just didn't go our way. A couple players had really good seasons in other series and just couldn't get it going in Legacy, myself included. So, we. I guess technically we were in it till like the last, second to last week, and just didn't make it happen. But we'll bounce back. We'll have a good season next season, and yeah. But both these teams that are here in the finals are both in the Gold Conference. So it was interesting looking at the teams spread across the conferences. I think I had earmarked Red as being the tougher conference, not just because my team was in it, but it just looked like it was a really competitive conference, and it sort of bore out that way where all the teams were really close till the very end. But Gold just kind of snuck in with three really, really good teams, and two of those making it all the way to the finals. So, Donnie, what was your experience in the Silver Conference? Were you thinking that Silver was as good as Gold, or were you eyeing that Gold Conference as being the premier conference this season?
Yeah, I think I looked at it preseason and thought Gold was going to be the strongest, if not one of the stronger ones. I mean, out of three, of course. It's not like we're 8 conferences deep, but I mean, the talent gets spread out so well over most of the conferences now. When we have anything over 2 conferences in THL, just because there's so many fantastic players at all PR levels, and you really can't sleep on any conference, any teams anymore. And I think that's a great sign for the future of Legacy, which tends to be considered like the premier series for THL. It's the oldest series. It's the one that is usually the most coveted for players to want to win, and captains as well. And I know it's eluded me for quite a few seasons, but it just goes to show you got to keep making your team better. You got to keep getting better every season in order to be competitive here. And also, a last call today was sent out for Legacy captains. So if you are interested in captaining Legacy next season, please make sure to get that application in as soon as possible, because we're announcing on Monday.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've always had the most teams in Legacy, so it's good to see that continue, and hopefully it will again next season.
Yeah, I don't see it changing. Legacy is, Conquest as a format is it's the known format for the most part that players are going to play. If you play any cups, that's what you're going to play. It's the easiest to get into with the amount of spots there usually are as far as teams are concerned. So it's always, I think, going to be the most popular and populous series in THL. Hero tends to be very condensed. LHS is popular with a certain subset of people, or you've got the people who play everything in THL, and then Pro, of course, tends to be very, very tough to be competitive in unless your team is extremely good, especially with the explosion of the last few seasons
of actual professional teams joining the ranks. So yeah, definitely an exciting time to be in THL overall. But always a place for everyone.
For sure.
Especially now with the BG starting and Wild kind of coming into its own. Definitely a lot of opportunities to play, and so I'm glad to see it going that way. But it's always nice to come back to Legacy and spend some time on our sort of original series here and cast the finals, which we are preparing to do, as Mayanon and Just Time are both preparing to battle a friend. Have you received any word on the bans yet?
Literally just got the bans in. I popped them up on the screen. So Mayanadon will not be allowed to play his Paladin this game, and Justin will not be allowed to play his Rogue this game. So we're going to see Paladin Rogue Warrior versus Mage Priest Warrior. Should be an exciting one.
Interesting for Justin Time to ban the Paladin. It's not what I necessarily would have expected. I guess maybe he was factoring in a Rogue Warlock ban, which are usually pretty good classes against Paladin. So maybe he was just predicting that and wanting to get that Paladin off the board. But it should be a pretty interesting series. So always happy to see some Mage games. So be curious to see what version of Mage Mayanon brought and how the series goes overall.
Well, given the players go ahead to start, when we do start, Justin will be on the bottom of your screen, Myodon will be on the top, and we will see if Justin can complete the perfect 10-0 season and put Foolish Madmen one step closer towards their championship this season. Or will F2L spoil both of those things?
Yep. Getting
Here
a
we
little bit of
go.
a spectate bug. There we go. Perfect. Got it.
Garrosh versus Garrosh.
So we go right
You're
back
gonna get
into the
warriors.
warrior.
Victory or death.
And interesting. So Justin with the Shadowrunner Vol'jin in his opening hand, and Myanon with the Broom. So we could be seeing ETC from Myonon's side, and probably something a little more controlling, maybe a Silas from Justin. So a similar matchup to what we saw in the last series, potentially. We'll see what else is in Justin's deck, but it does look like Myonon's running ETC here. So Gordon asked a great question in chat from 10 minutes ago. If F2L wins both matches 3-2, is there still a chance for Foolish? And if I do the math real quickly, I'll put Foolish at 10 and F2L at 13. So the answer would be yes. That the last match would have to be a 3-0 sweep for Dark Binks in that scenario for them to win. Someone else might get there by the time that, yeah, there you go. Well done, Dundee.
No problem.
Spoiling our conversation, but that's okay.
So both these players a little more methodical in their pace here in the opening turns. We do see that Brawl entering to Justin's hand. So he's got Zephrys in hand. It's not active. This is a pretty standard move. We see it in a lot of warrior lists where you know you're going to be just drawing through so much of your deck. The Zephrys will, at some point, be useful to you, just not right now.
So that'll probably just sit there. Justin probably just armors up and goes on to the next turn. So we'll probably see a lot of that. So the start that we saw in this matchup in the first series was Turtle hitting all of the Enrage right out the gate, but it looks like Mynon's playing just a more standard control version of ETC. So I think both players are going to be sitting back for a while, trying to figure out how to get the damage in to get their combo active. I think the Silas combo has a higher ceiling in that you are only limited in the damage that you do by the amount of armor that you have, whereas ETC has a cap on how much damage you can do just based on the number of minions on the board and how many attacks you can perform. That doesn't mean that Justin's combo is necessarily better, but the way that it plays out is Silas Warrior does have potentially a easier time getting the amount of damage needed to kill the Warrior in ETC. But it does depend on how both players are managing their armor, trying to keep the armor down from the other one, because that ultimately ends up being usually the determining factor for which combo is successful.
Not only that, it becomes a lot of hand management as well, as these are going to be a lot of these slower turns in the early going. You want to draw through your deck, but you also don't want to overdraw any of these key pieces that will lead you to your win conditions. So Myodon we see using a Shield Slam here to get rid of the 2/5. It's not the most threatening minion, but it does help keep that hand size into a manageable state.
The other alternative, and it's really tough to do when you're running cards like Cutting Class and Battle Rage, is do you choose not to draw through your deck, anticipating the game to go to fatigue? And I think that's a possibility. I don't think that's going to be the approach that these players take, but it is something to keep in the back of your mind. It usually comes up more often in Priest Mirrors than Warrior Mirrors, but something that one player could determine that the other player is drawing a lot more and might want to back off drawing on their own, assuming that you still have the tools and resources that you need to stay in the game. So Justin's able to put out a little bit of early pressure, which is kind of nice. What we talked about as far as keeping the armor count low, having minions on the board to chip away at that helps a lot. So Myodon now faced with a choice of how he wants to deal with that. He doesn't have a realistic option in hand with the health levels of 1, 2, 3 on Justin's side, but goes ahead and pulls the trigger on the shield block, just trying to cycle through and find some answers to this early pressure.
And we do have a Battle Rage now, actually on both sides here. The Battle Rage from Myrmidon was drawn at the end of the last turn. So there are options with which to draw quite a few cards, but nothing to really damage minions of his own volition, nor many minions in his hand to begin with.
Interesting. So we see Justin running the Pinflingers. Also, he might also be an ETC variant. So this might end up being a true mirror.
Well,
Yep,
there's
there
the
it is.
ETC, yep. And I tell you what, if Khadgar happens to get involved in the ETC combo, that would be something ridiculous. But I don't think that will come to pass. Because I do believe if you duplicate an ETC with that Khadgar on board, you would get an extra ETC, right?
Correct. So basically, you just save yourself one Bloodsworn potentially, because I don't think you'd have room to summon a fourth one
Right.
out of that whole gambit. Let's see. No, I guess you, in theory, you could get 4 ETCs on the board with a Khadgar plus a damaged ETC that you're able to copy, but that is assuming that you're damaging it. I guess if you damage with the Pinflinger, you can pull the Pinflinger back. So yeah, there's a possibility that you could have 4 ETCs on the board. But no, realistically, that's Khadgar's not living for another 2 or 3 turns, much less the however many it's going to take us to get to that point in the game where it's relevant. So, but it's an interesting thought experiment. Warriors can find a way to sneak Khadgars into the deck more often.
Always like to shout out to Hearth Center and their random card of the week, RNG card of the week, and I believe if Khadgar happens to get involved in this ETC combo, then it would have to be Khadgar. But I think that would be more along the lines of a thought experiment, as you said, and less of a reality at this point.
Is Justin at the point in time where he's going to have to start making some decisions on the cards in his hand, because he's sitting at 9 at the moment, which is fine, but he's going to hit 10 and have to play something that he might not otherwise want to play. It might just be dumping a Battle Rage potentially, considering he has 2 in his hand, and might be a card that you don't actually want to draw cards off of in this matchup.
Yeah, I could see that, or I guess maybe you just play Zephrys down if you really don't care that much about anything more than the body. But now Myrmidon is also in that situation where he's at 9 cards, and next turn is going to be forced to make a decision.
I don't think you want to play Zephrys if you're Justin. I think you save that.
Wait a second.
What's that?
ETC here with the broom.
ETC. No, you still save
No?
ETC. No. You're saving ETC. You're saving Zephrys. Sorry if I misheard what you were predicting of him just playing out. I think it's just Battle Rage.
Well, he would have 7 minions and 3 ETCs. But yeah, there's nothing to charge or rush them into, and only the ones that would actually be able to hit face would do damage. So that would be capped at what, 2, 4, 6, 18 damage plus the 5. So yeah, it would be well short of lethal here for Justin.
I mean, it would represent a pretty significant amount of damage and pressure that Myrmidon does have the answer for, and you kind of have to expect the Warriors to have answers to that, and then you just kind of blowing your load for at what cost, So, but we'll see what Justin decides to do. I still kind of lean towards Battle Rage, but there's, I guess, some options here. I'm not sure, but I think it's just Battle Rage.
And you are correct. Battle Rage played for no cards, and just an armor up after that. And we'll see what Myrmidon opts to do on the other side. Well, he picks up Ankar, so you can just play that if you want to and just not swing with it.
Yeah, that's a possibility. So if you draw Pirate, you're not likely to want to play that. Maybe you get a Sword Eater, maybe you play the Sword Eater. You're definitely not playing the Skipper.
Yeah.
You could drop the Titanic Lackey just to get out of your hand. It's probably the least valuable card. You could also, having just seen Justin play his Battle Rage for nothing, you could opt to do that as well. But the fact that you're holding the Skipper now makes that Battle Rage maybe a little more appealing, potentially, to get to your combo if you think that's valuable to you.
And there's that Vol'jin that we saw at the Mulligan coming back to hand for Justin. Thoughts, I guess, on what do you think the Vol'jin is looking to hit? Like, are you looking to hit maybe your opponent's Rattlegore in this mirror? Are you looking to hit, maybe you could, I would say you could hit Zephrys with it yourself if you wanted to.
He's drawing 3 cards, and then it's interesting he played the Zephrys, actually. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I guess he wanted to draw. Maybe he's thinking that he's in a position now where if he gets to his combo quickly enough, the fact that he's holding ETC and one of the Bloods warns that Mayana's life total is still low enough that that it's actually a chance for victory. But the problem is you still need Mayana to play something in that. So curious that he made that choice, but now he's kind of stuck in terms of what else he wants to play. Shield block cycles, and he's still missing a Bloodthorn, so he doesn't want to overdraw. So he's going to shield slam his own Zephrys. Okay, that's fair. This is an interesting game the way it's playing out. Mayanan is sort of on the back foot, so he hasn't really had things he's wanted to play, whereas Justin has sort of been the aggressor so far, but most of the cards in his hand are either combo pieces or defensive tools, so he hasn't been able to play them either. So both players are kind of in like this weird limbo of trying to figure out exactly what to do. So Mayanan loses the second skipper. That actually hurts.
Yeah, I don't know if that was an intended, or maybe he was playing the numbers there and said, "Okay, I'm getting rid of a pirate, and I hope it's a sword eater." But
no, I think it was just a misplay. Honestly, I think he wasn't. Either he forgot he had 10 cards, or he was planning to play the skipper and just forgot he needed to play the skipper first, just to clear up the space. But yeah, that it may not necessarily come back to haunt him in this matchup. Particularly because he's playing ETC, so he's not as reliant on getting on the armor as he would be with the Silas TK variant. But yeah, that is an unfortunate play there from Iron. So
we'll see that brawl come down as for the first time Justin actually has something that he wants to get rid of. The 2/4 lives, however.
I think you're fine with that. I don't feel that necessarily concerned.
I mean, yeah, he's still he has more than enough armor. He's in a fine position. I think that works out okay. He would have rather have a thing to clear, but in this case, I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, but I'm finally gets to do something proactive, putting the damage, drawing some cards, doing things that he wants to do instead of just kind of sitting there waiting around for something better to do. So. But now, once again, he's in the awkward spot of, okay, what do you play? Do you play the other Sword Eater here? Play an Armor Smith because you've lost a skipper behind it, so it doesn't really have much value otherwise. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think at this point, yeah, you're not winning through armor gain, you're winning through achieving your combo. But yeah, the Armor Smith, I think, is a fine play there to free up the hand space.
So we didn't mention this yet, but Just in Time running Galakrond in his list gives them that little extra push, especially in this matchup. So kind of like where Justin's sitting at this point. Still missing a couple pieces of the combo, but the fact that he has that Galakrond is pretty nice in terms of closing this game out, even if the combo itself isn't quite enough damage.
Looks like he's going to start with a shield block here. Picks up the second broom, and he's going to go Galakrond to pick up a minion and buff it. Picks up a huge Armor Smith, 5/8 Armor Smith.
Don't mind to that.
And there's a second Battle Rage for Myanodon. More cards that he doesn't really have a great option to play here. Might just be a Bulwark at this point.
We're seeing the Galakrond from Justin's side. Bulwark's not a bad option, just to sort of stop some of the damage, but it looks like he's going to try to be a little more aggressive on his side to push the armor down. So in both cases, both players might have a suspicion on what the other one's doing. This is about to give it away for Justin of what Mayanon's doing, the Pinflinger. But yeah, until that Pinflinger was played, you could have still been guessing at what the other player's warrior was. Now the Pinflinger and Broom, there's no doubt whatsoever in what Mayanon's playing, but Justin's version is still a little bit of mystery. Having seen a Zephrys and a Galakrond, I mean that could be Silas, that could be ETC, it could be a boat.
You know how much we've always wanted one of those. Second Armor Smith, slightly smaller Armor Smith there for Justin now. And again, Looking to see what are the options here. Is this maybe a risky skipper turn or just a bear off?
And the skipper into the big armor smith makes a lot of sense.
Right.
You definitely need that armor smith out of the way in order to do your combo. 40 health is just about at the limit of what ECC can possibly pull off in a single turn without face attacks. But yeah, so going with the broom, keeping the skipper in his hand.
Well, I mean, I keep thinking too, is the Shadow Hunter Vol'jin in here possibly so you can maybe do like a two-piece ETC combo, like a mini combo, and then you can pull it back to your hand and do it again. But if he uses that second broom, or if you use that first broom, I should say, that really kind of takes that out of the equation.
I think it's possible. I think more likely you're potentially trying to snipe your opponent's combo pieces. But it's always risky if your opponent's running Rattlebore, because you definitely don't want to hit that.
Right.
It could potentially be game losing. So
I mean, unless you're looking to go off on the combo right away, then you want to pull out the Rattlegore so that way you have something for your stuff to rush into. Because, you know, a fully 9/9 Rattlegore is just never dying during the combo, unlike some smaller minions that might not live through the rushes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, you can only do that if you're in a situation where you can absorb a Rattlegore hit the next turn, which is where you usually are, at least for one turn.
Yeah, the flip side of that is if you do that in your opponent's ETC, you've just given him an extra 9 damage on the board that goes face, plus you have a 3/6 minion that can eat, 4 or 5 attacks, and give your opponent the opportunity to just crush you with their ETC combo.
And
that is a pretty decent pickup. So I guess Justin's just doing everything here. He's got Silas, he's got ETC.
Everything warrior.
Well, one of these is going to work. So curious if that is accompanied by an Ash Tongue or not, or if it's just in there to be an answer to a Rattlegore potentially. So.
Yeah, with only 4 cards left in the deck for Myrmidon, 6 here for Justin. Both of them are kind of in that standoff mode where they know the other has to really have assembled most of what they're trying to do. I mean, for Myrmidon, he doesn't really know yet. I guess like he's seen one broom and has to presume that there's an ETC combo in here.
Seeing the broom kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
You're not running broom in Olis that doesn't have ETC in it. So. But we are looking at fatigue, and we are going to be looking at someone doing math very quickly to figure out at what point the combo becomes lethal along with the fatigue damage. But yeah, Justin's got a huge card advantage on this, but he is definitely kind of the flip side of where he was at the beginning of this game, where he had the minions on board to reduce armor. Now Myrmidon's in that position, and Justin's in a position where if he plays minions that just are on the board, he could be in danger of dying to the ETC combo. So he has to figure out a way to navigate this, and I imagine it's going to end up being a skipper turn that clears off this board and puts out something that doesn't line up well to the ETC combo with the armor smiths. So we'll have to answer this 2/2 poisonous at some point, but I think that'll just get mopped up by the skipper turn that eventually comes down.
And then on chipping away, and here comes that bulwark finally.
I think so. I think we got our answer to why Justin did not use ETC with the Barov is because he's running Silas. He's going to want to make sure that if he plays skipper, he's getting a whole bunch of armor off of it as well. So, so we see the other Shield Slam picked up. So we're still waiting on, in those last 5 cards, we're going to have the other Bloodsworn Mercenary, potentially the Soulbound Ash Tongue. So could be a situation where Justin tries to do essentially both combos back to back, depending on how this plays out. So, but he does have to deal with this bulwark as well. Having a Pinflinger helps for that. He has only 1 spell in his hand though, and if he wants to use that spell with the Silas, then that Pinflinger is kind of stuck there for now. So, kind of an awkward spot for Justin here, but.
I am unbreakable, but time is fleeting.
Still ahead in fatigue, so maybe this is a sacrifice of the Pinflinger at this point. I'd be surprised if he uses the Shield Slam here. Curious what so so he is going to use the shield.
And he's going to use it on the... Well, it doesn't really matter what he uses it on. It's not going to actually kill anything.
Right.
Just to get that Penflinger back.
Yeah. So I guess his calculus is that at no point in time is he going to have enough armor for Silas to be relevant.
Right.
So now my Anon has... Okay, so he's already attacking. I was going to say, you're not quite at the point where you can add up damage from ETC just off the minions that can go face, but you're getting pretty close. And now, if Justin plays anything that sticks with this life total, he's going to be at risk of my Anon just outright killing him. So playing the Skipper Armor for the turn now makes a lot of sense.
And this will clear up the board, get a ton of armor. Titanic Lackey generated off of the Evil Quartermaster.
And so I think that turn kind of swings things back towards Justin's favor. I mean, granted, he had that in his back pocket, so that was always going to come down at some point. But the fact that Manon is several cards ahead in fatigue, and he's got enough life total right now to survive. Well, let me take that back. So Justin has 8 on the board, and add that to yeah, I guess Manon's never just slamming out of board here. Bear out the clear first, and then figure it out from there.
Well, yeah, Rattlegore, like I said before, it comes into that situation where it just never dies and can be repeatedly rushed into. So it might not be an ideal play until after your opponent plays the ETC combo. But at this point, who dies first from fatigue would be my Anadon.
Right. Yeah, I think the ETC combo at this point isn't a one-turn lethal. It won't be until we're a couple cards deep into fatigue. So the tough part is going to be trying to figure out, probably more from my Anon's perspective, do you just play the Rattlecore now and try to use that to win this game? Because if you're afraid of playing it because you're afraid of getting ETC combo, then you're going to lose eventually anyway. There's nothing you can do about it. I think you kind of have to just commit the Rattlecore at this point.
That's what we see.
And I think from Justin's perspective, I think the calculus on his side is maybe just stealing it.
Well, I think it has to be because we don't see a way for that ETC to be damaged, to be duplicated now that Penflinger is dead. So in those last 2 cards, I guess we would expect there to be one more Bloodsworn Mercenary and maybe another Penflinger or an Inner Rage. Other than that, there's no other way for Justin to activate the ETC.
Yeah, no, I think unless he's just running Silas for the sake of running it, one of those cards might be the Ash Tongue.
I really feel like it's just in here for a steal.
Silas.
Yeah.
Okay. And if that's the case, then is this not the turn to do it?
I mean, this is absolutely the turn. If this is what you've led up to this entire time, but again, you come into the discussion of, do I want to take the Rattlegore and then give him the minion to charge into over and over again with his ETC combo, especially when.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, especially when you have no way to clear it up a turn later.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the problem. I guess you just do your own combo at that point.
Right.
That's essentially your answer to it. And then you would leave with Mayan with nothing else to hit you. So I think you still end up winning in that scenario. Because I think what's going to happen now is Mayan's going to probably do his ETC combo to whittle this Rattlecore down a little bit, maybe kill the Silas, but it's not going to be enough. And then Justin's going to have a couple Rattlecores hitting face every turn with Mayan taking away in fatigue and no way to do additional damage. So I think this might just be checkmate for Justin. We'll see what Mayan opts to do. He's counting up the damage from the ETC. So the ETC plus a Broom. Does he have ultimately? I guess he would have 7 minions because he's not gonna have a way to bounce the Penflinger back. So he has to get rid of this Titanic Lackey. It can't just be part of the combo because his board will be full with the Penflinger on the board as well. So he has to trade it in. But longer he takes to think about this, the trickier it's going to be for him. I
Yeah,
don't know
coming
that he
down to
really
about
has another
15
option.
seconds of execution time is not a lot. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
he's thinking, do I wait and like let this game go into fatigue a little bit further before I execute my combo,
Yeah.
knowing that that is going to end up being, wow.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility because so ETC with a full board, the first 5 minions will always do 6 damage. That's 30, and then you got 2 more attacks, so you get to 36 off of that. But yeah, I think you're just copying this. I think, as Justin, your condition is killing him before that becomes a possibility. Because you're not going to hit fatigue for 2 more turns, you're never going to get below that threshold,
Right.
and Myanod's not going to have any way of doing enough damage to get you that threshold. So when 36 is your cap, that's not going to be enough. And so I think we're going to see Justin here take game 1.
Yeah, Justin's representing 28 on board right now before anything else, and he still can play that ETC next turn, plus the broomstick, and get a little bit of extra damage. Brawl number 2 coming down from Myanodon. See what ends up surviving here. Shockingly, it is a Ralgor.
I think that's technically the best option because it gets rid of 6 attack instead of 5 attack or something, getting rid of the 2/2s. But hey, look, Justin gets his own Ralgor, last card in the deck, so he's not running the Ash Tongue. So it was just Silas for Silas' sake, and yeah. So let's see. Does the math work out? No, it does not.
Well, the math works out when one player concedes for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So Myanodon opts not to continue with that game, and that is game 1 to Justin. And we are going to have to see here now where the queuing goes. As we've moved to Conquest, now that Warrior is done, we won't see it again for Justin. Myanodon could bring his back. And one thing that I do want to point out too is like a lot of especially on stream here, like we're closed. This is closed list. Like we don't know what are in these decks, which is why a lot of the time when we're trying to go through like the possibilities, we can't be 100% certain, and you're trying to hold a lot of that information off of your opponent as well. So you see those little pieces that come into the ETC combo. You see like the broom and whatnot. I believe Justin saw enough of that combo to know that there's an ETC in Myanodon's deck. Is that right?
100%. Yeah.
So you held back some info, but not enough to turn Justin off of that info completely. So that might go into the queue process here in game 2 as we go into the second game of the series.
Yeah. So Justin deciding between let's see, his rogue was banned and Myanodon's Paladin's banned. So between Paladin and Warlock now for Justin Thomas. So I think we'll probably see Myanodon's Mage, I would expect. I think that lines up well into both of those classes generally. But we'll see what Myanodon's thinking. Having the ETC Warrior means you're not quite as dead to Paladin as most Warriors because you still always have that possibility. Paladins can heal a lot, but they can't go above 30 generally. So let's see what we got.
Correct about the Mage, and we are going to see Warlock for Justin.
It's like a heavier control Galakron type Warlock list. And from Myanodon, we see some biscuits. We see Arcane Intellect. This could be Mozaki.
I think that is Mozaki. Yeah, that's It's essentially like the old style freeze mage where just wants to stall out the game long enough to collect its pieces and then blast you in the face until you're tired of getting hit by fireballs and stuff. So this is not one of my.
I don't know that I would describe Mozaki Mage as anything like Freeze Mage. I think you just on turn 6 you play gadgets, and on turn 7 you kill them. There's no stalling out the game.
Sure.
You hit that and you win.
I guess more what I mean is that like the feeling of playing against it, where
right.
once the deck starts doing what it does, you feel helpless to an extent because you know that you just die if they hit all the right pieces on that turn 6, turn 7, like you said.
Yeah, so this does match up pretty well against the Control Warlock. The only real possibility for the Warlock to disrupt that is to corrupt Ticketus immediately and play it the next turn and have it hit the Mozaki and or the burn spells. But considering Myanodon already has the Mozaki in hand along with 3 Arcane Intellects, I think Minot's going to be in pretty good position to hit his combo right on time and make this game a bit of a firework fest.
For the record, when you try to rush the Ticketus out as soon as possible, it's called Quickitus.
Quickness, I like it.
Yes, feel free to use it.
I feel like Arhat already has used it.
I don't know if Arhat's ever played a Ticketus in his life. Far too slow of a deck for him.
Fair enough. So Manon, looking at what would, I guess, be considered some slight amount of pressure, but picking up the Gadgetzan, having a Biscuit that he can pre-activate, he could opt to just play the Phoenix as well, because that will line up pretty nicely into that Gadgetzan turn to kind of kill some of this stuff off. Justin's doing the right thing. He's getting the minions out on the board, and they're actually living. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play Ray of Frost here on the 4-1 just to stop some of this damage. But yeah, this is looking pretty good for Manon here with the cards he's got in hand.
Well, would you rather play the Phoenix a turn later to have it line up with the Mozaki turn? Because you're going to play on 6, you're going to play the Auctioneer, or are you valuing it alongside the Cram Session to draw a ton of cards?
I think it's just an option. Because some of the things that you might end up having to play off the Auctioneer could benefit from that spell damage. For example, if you have if you have to play the Arcane Missiles, for example, there are a couple things that can benefit from that spell damage. So this becomes actually a tricky turn. Facing 13 damage on the board is not a joke. You're gonna have to stop some of this bleeding here. From Manon's perspective, because you definitely want to Gadget next turn, and you kind of need to play some Biscuits. So I think we're going to see the other half of the Ray of Frost come down now to stop 4-5, and then next turn is just going to be step 1 of the Mozaki 2-step that will be pretty tough for Justin to watch.
A little extra healing there as a Soul Fragment comes off the top, and there, is Silas just in every deck for Justin tonight?
It very well might be. Something that if you're expecting to play against the Warrior, especially a deck like the Warlock that doesn't have another good answer to dealing with no transform effects, probably not running Zephyrs. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it does just give you that option to deal with the Rattleboar. So
could be a Vol'jin in there as well for Justin, because you want to pull the Mozaki out of the hand before it starts to do its thing.
Yeah, that's a possibility if you were expecting that deck. And so Manon now just navigating, probably not going to see this Frostbolt or Arcane Missiles get played. He really needs to find the Sorcerer's Apprentice now, basically, because you need that for next turn. And a Counter's Flow would actually be pretty useful too if you can find that. You still have the mana to play it, so you need to be able to get that out there as well to be able to run through the rest of your deck next turn. But yeah, so I think we're just basically one card away from Manon having a really good time here. Where is he at with the Cram Session? He's drawn 3. So, might want to. So I guess he is going to play that alongside the spell damage. So this is going to fill his hand up if he plays Cram Session. Kind of feel like you need to. I think you really want to make sure.
Yeah, it's almost. Oh, he opts not to. I mean, as I say, it's kind of like a little bit of a Hail Mary at this point, but.
Right. I just I think he's probably still fine. Warlock just doesn't have a good answer to this, so next turn you might even just have to lethal based on what you've got in your hand. If you draw that Apprentice, it's over. If you don't, see, so he's got 7 on board, so he needs 21 damage.
Right.
You could play. I mean, just not having the Sorcerer's Apprentice really hurts right now. I really would have liked to see the Cram Session play last turn, because this turn he kind of has to stall. If he plays Mozaki and doesn't get there, then, I mean, you can still generate some burn, but this is tough.
We see Brain Freeze off the top, still hunting, still 8 cards left in deck, and no. Oh, there's second. Okay, so second Auctioneer.
Yeah, you can't play Cram Session now. I don't think. I mean, you can. There's no, you're not going to burn. Well, I guess there is a possibility you burn both Sorcerer's Apprentice, but I mean, realistically, you're probably still fine just to do it next turn.
Yeah, I think if you're Myrmidon, you saw that Justin didn't have a full board answer last turn, so the odds of a full answer this turn are still continue to be
Right.
pretty low. Right now, that Cascading Disaster is only at 2 instead of 3.
Right. The Galakrond isn't bad because it does give you a full board. It does get like a 12-12 and a 8-8 and some other big demons. It can be a
And
little
heal.
bit obnoxious, especially if Myrmidon doesn't get the Soldier's Apprentice next turn. But we'll have to see. But I think Galakrond's probably the best of the options here for just in time. You could, I guess, take the risk. Like the auctioneer kind of doesn't matter at this point. You almost want the auctioneer to live. I mean, it's not like man's gonna kill you before he kills himself with fatigue, but it doesn't. It's done its job. It's irrelevant for the most part. So I think just putting the maximum amount of stats and maybe hoping he doesn't have it clear, that's not what you're looking for in terms of minions. But no, I think this is good enough. I think you just jam the Mozaki and start throwing out spells and calling it good. You can even start with the Gram Session right away, just try to hit the Apprentice. Maybe even trade. Yeah, I was gonna say trade in the Auctioneer.
Yeah, you would need the board space, right?
So, yeah, just hope you draw an Apprentice in the first 3 cards, and then you win.
Well, yeah, he's drawing 4 cards, and his hand will be perfectly balanced. And there's the Apprentice. Oh nope, yeah. You're right. It did burn one.
But he's good.
Yeah,
so
this is
wait and see. Justin decides to concede or make him play it out, but we see there's just plenty of cards left in hand. So
we will be looking at a 1-1 series now going into Game 3.
Yeah, interesting. So some of the takeaways from this Warlock deck, unbeknownst to Myrmidon, there is the Envoy Rustwix in it.
Very heavy deck.
Yeah, too much Elsa Silas is in that deck. So some interesting text, I guess, interesting selections in the deck that will make for some interesting games down the line. And granted, the ETC Warrior from Myrmidon kind of doesn't care like how much value you generate, because again, Warlock has the same problem as Paladin in that it may have some healing and ability to keep its life total, but other than Galakrond doesn't have a way of gaining armor. So the ETC combo will probably always be able to find lethal. So despite all that value in the Warlock deck, it might still struggle against that Warrior potentially. But now we're looking at Warlock or Paladin for Justin, and Priest or Warrior from Myrmidon. I think he's going to go back to the Warrior on Myrmidon side, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Justin switch to the Paladin here. I mean, I guess if he had queued up a Warlock with Mage as a possibility, then maybe he's thinking that Warlock is still the best option against the Priest and the Warlock, or excuse me, the Priest and the Warrior. So maybe he sticks to it. But yeah, I'm not on Warrior, so. All right, so let's go. So we've seen pretty much what we needed to out of both these decks to know generally how these matchups are going to go. So now we get to settle in for another long one.
Yeah, as I say, this is not going to be a quick game either, as both decks are going to want to get deep into them, into their libraries here before they start to do really what they want to achieve. Justin, I think if you're probably looking for maybe like a full mulligan to just try to find this Ticketus and burn the key cards in the combo.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely your best chance of winning. Just because, I mean, Warrior does draw through the deck quickly, but not necessarily that quickly. So I think from Justin's perspective, he's running Ticketus. Definitely is going to need to find that as soon as possible, give himself the highest chance of burning. But then again, we did see the Silas, so like you mentioned, the Vol'jin might be there as well as a possible yoink potential for just sniping the ETC straight out the deck. So
I will say Ticketus has been one of my favorite cards of this expansion to play around with, and I know that Control Warlock, Ticketus Warlock has not been really the most strong deck in the later days of the expansion, but it's still just such a fun deck to play.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've enjoyed is the Envoy Rustwix. The moment in time when the Quest Warlock variant with that card was all the rage. being able to just play prime after prime after prime. That was a lot of fun. So
You really had, prime after prime
oh God.
was just out there for you, and you did not take it.
No, of course not.
I'm just
I
upset
want
with you.
you in 10 minutes to turn up the volume on the stream and listen to yourself do that, and then tell me if you think that was still a good idea or not.
I mean, I don't think it was a bad idea at all, because I'm here
Fair
for
enough.
the people.
Okay.
And I thought you were Isaac, man of the people. What's up with that? Come on.
Yes. I don't think people wanted that, but anyway, back to the game at hand. So Justin putting out a decent amount of pressure, which is always nice to do against Warriors, despite their myriad ways of dealing with it, such as a skipper, followed by probably an evil quartermaster here. We'll see if that's the choice he ends up making. So he's actually hesitating on it. I'm wondering if he's debating on whether or not this board actually is as threatening as it looked at the outset. Probably doing a quick double check of the cards in his hand to make sure he
Sure.
doesn't overdraw.
Yep,
the card again.
absolutely worth doing, and he's not going to overdraw. Picks up a Sword Eater and thinks, you know what? I think that's just fine. I don't need to use this risky skipper here.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I think the initial inclination to just play a skipper because there's a whole bunch of 1 health minions is an easy choice to make, but realistically, like it's not that much of a threat, and Sword Eater is just a nicer answer to this. So, and Justin dropping down the Envoy, being able to get this shuffled in and going. So the one thing that kind of is contradictory with a Galakrond Warlock that runs Envoy Rustwix is you really don't have the opportunity for finding the Warlock Prime and shuffling Envoy Rustwix back into your deck or summoning it for more primes because you have all these 1/1 demons that kind of clutter up your res pool. So that it does have a limit on its sort of long-term value, but it still is a pretty nice thing to have in your deck of 3 separate primes. So
Yeah, if you want value, you could do a lot worse than Envoy Rustwix for sure. Meanwhile, Manadon picks up the Brawl, and not really, obviously, anything to use it on here. Now he's kind of in that same situation where we were seeing in Game 1, managing the hand size and trying to find a way to make sure he doesn't overdraw any of those important combo pieces, because right now he's missing a lot of them.
yeah, and I think you're kind of okay with this as opposed to the Warrior matchup. Like you actually have things to do with your cards because the Warlock's gonna be playing minions, so Quartermaster giving you lackeys that you can play out and shield black, drawing potentially into shield slam. Like there's stuff you can do, so you're not quite as like hard up for figuring out how to play out your turn as you were in the Warrior Mirror. But pretty nice evolve there for
Yeah, not bad at all.
The Infiltrator just to be annoying for Justin.
Yeah, one of everybody's favorite cards of the past year is Convincing Infiltrator. If a deck is hard running it as a priest, then you know that you're in for a long, bad time for the most part.
So Justin guarantees the Envoy is shuffling primes into his deck, and then plays the Veiled Worshipper behind it to see what he can pull. Might be able to get one of those primes out on the board pretty quickly here.
Gets Militia and Hysteria. So no Prime yet, and no Ticketus yet for that matter.
Right. So you're at the point now, the best draw in your deck is Ticketus, because you've got 2 7-cost things that you can do.
And
Yes,
Yasharaj
sure.
in hand too.
No.
I mean, obviously a few
Just one.
turns away from being able to play that anyway, but right now, like, not a whole lot of Myanodon's, like I said, his combo pieces are not there in hand, so there's a good chance you're going to burn something. Well, there's one of them.
Right. No, at this point, the most critical is the ETC itself. A Bloodsworn's nice to burn. A Broom and a Pen are okay. You have other ways of getting them, but
ETC and Rattlegore are the ones you want to hit.
right. Yeah, in that order. But I think Justin's pretty happy just drawing through his deck now. I think he's on the find Ticketus, play Ticketus plan, so don't mind this. Keep drawing removal, which is okay, but he's going to need to find... I really just does come down to whether he finds Ticketus or not in time. So
Cutting Class for Myanodon drawn here.
from an Anand's perspective, as much as you see Justin drawing through his deck, it should be a signal to you that you need to draw through your deck just as quickly.
Right.
Because you need to get your pieces into your hand. So I think this is going to end up being a Battle Rage turn.
And he will indeed draw 3 cards here, which will bring him to full.
He'll just throw out the coin, I think.
Have to throw out the
Getting ETC
coin.
in hand is huge. So we're basically at the point now. Iona's going to have lethal. Pretty much next turn that Justin plays any minion whatsoever. Is with Justin's life level only at 17, unless he draws a whole bunch of fragments, which he does have a bunch in the deck. But it's not going to be quite enough, and 2 ETCs are going to be good enough with, especially with minions hitting face with the weapon. You're only going to need 3 or 4 attacks to finish this game off. 4 attacks if this board gets cleared and Justin ends the turn at 19 health, which he will have the exact mana to do that. No, I have 1 extra mana, but in any event, this will most likely be lethal next turn for Ionan.
Justin running through the options to see if there's a way he can get around this turn, but yeah, like if he plays a Sociologist, not only is that for future turns, getting rid of a ticket is activator.
Could opt to Dark Skies,
yeah,
and not play a minion. I mean, the problem is at some point you have to play a minion. You're just not going to win otherwise. So even if he does this and doesn't play something, like it's ultimately going to end up being the game. So I think even with the taunt, this is still lethal because you're going to be able to do 5 damage with the minions. So 4 attacks. You also have 5 attacks. So this is lethal for sure.
All right, we're going to hold you to that if you're wrong here.
Yeah, and it's ETC with a pen and copy it, and Broom gives you 5 minions on the board. Each minion does 4 damage to face when you attack in. Even ETC, the first ETC dies to the 4/5, but the second one still does 2 extra damage. So yeah, this in my end probably just doing the math real quick, but
of course,
yeah, this should be the end of game 3.
And Ionan thinking about playing the ETC again, running low on time here. 30 seconds left in the turn.
As the thing with the ETC Warrior, like when you play it, you gotta have the mindset of how much damage you're doing at any given time. But
right.
It's not always easy.
Oh, of course not. You got to plan ahead too. Plan ahead on so that way you can start your turn, start executing the turn as fast as possible. Will he get everything in time here? He will.
The face swing is the only thing that is a possibility, because having all the animations go, all the minions attack through. But I think he wasn't going to be prevented from actually making the attack. He could queue up all the attacks and then queue up the last attack without worrying too much about the animation stopping him. So well played by Ionan. I think that was a good matchup for him. Well executed, being able to draw through his deck faster than Justin drew through his deck. Get what he needed before Justin hit the Ticketus. Was pretty key. So now we just have to win with the Priest against Warlock, who we will see for the 3rd consecutive time, and then Paladin. So as opposed to the last matchup where the Warrior had a way of kind of negating the Warlock's value, in this case, value is the name of the game, and the fact that Justin's going to have more time to get the Ticketus online, the ability to actually have an Envoy shuffle the primes into the deck and be playable, means that this could be a little bit of a nicer matchup for Justin than the last one. But it looks like my hand's playing Res Priest. So
yeah, it's got to be a Res Priest there with the we saw the Psycho Pomp that get tossed for that Bone Wraith there. So Lucia in hand, is there obviously like stealing Ticketus and then you just burn your own cards? That doesn't do you any good. So like
the tricky part is trying to Lucia before it gets corrupted, in which case you're burning your own
cards. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, you obviously have to wait for 9 mana, because you need to be able to play the Lucia and then play the Ticketus, and you're banking on it being in hand. So there's a lot of things that have to go right as the Res Priest in order for you to hit that correctly.
Like keeping it in hand kind of makes sense. There's as you see with this card, like these are 2 cards with the idol. Well, not the idol, but the insight. So the insight being able to discount Lucia and maybe make that a turn or 2 quicker. I think it's probably still worth it to keep the Lucia in your hand just to have it guaranteed that you have it. But the being able to discount it off the insight would have been the potential option for getting it out faster.
Yeah, there's a lot of control priests that don't run a ton of minions, so the insight tends to be almost like a tutor for Lucia, almost specifically. But with Res Priest, you're going to have a lot of minions in deck. They're going to be the high value minions, and you're going to want to draw those minions. But it doesn't, it doesn't bode well for you getting a Lucia every time when you use the insight like you would in a control priest deck.
Yeah. So Justin again is going to be on the draw as many cards as possible to get to his Ticketus game plan to burn out the priest cards. He's holding 1 Invoke and both Veiled Worshippers, so he has the ability to accelerate his draw pretty quickly if he's able to find 1 more Invoke. But this might just be the first Invoke turn and hope he draws 1 on the next turn.
Now, is there any chance that there's just no Ticketus in this control world? We haven't seen it in either game so far, or and to this point.
Yeah, he's running Yashiraj. I think that the chance that he's not running Ticketus is maybe 0.1%.
Like, just wants it for the strong men?
Forgot to put it in, potentially, but I'm pretty sure it's in his deck.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well, but chat was trolling a little bit, asking if he has Ticketus in the deck, so figured I'd throw it for them.
Nah, now you're just pandering. Now you truly are a man of the people. You've earned your wings. So... but yeah, missing that second Invoke kind of stinks, but I mean, he does have a full hand, so not quite at the point where that's going to be relevant just yet. But from my end's perspective, now we're just going to see the parade of irresolute minions one after the other. So not exactly the most threatening thing for the world to deal with, but annoying nonetheless. And now he has, with Silas picked up, in a couple turns, he has the option of putting some junk in Lyanon's Rest Pool potentially. So that'll be interesting how that plays out. For now, he's just kind of stuck. Tapping is probably right, and then maybe Dark Sky is behind it. The question is, do you attack with a 1/1 just because, or do you just let that without you doing anything? So, sorry, little 1/1. Your time has come.
he served his purpose.
Yeah. So Insight could draw Kartut, could draw Fargoth, could draw another Bone Wraith, which is fine. So basically all the standard res options. So it's pretty interesting from my Amnon's perspective that he's running Cthulhu in this deck. Guess the thought process is that Res Priest on its own just kind of stalls out the game and has fun doing it. But if you're running against some decks that can kind of survive and eventually run you out of value, that Cthulhu is just that sort of final piece to end the game on your terms. So kind of like that inclusion from my perspective. You see Justin finally get the second Invoke that is going to enable his Veiled Worshippers. So he's going to be just right on time to getting his Ticketus online. He's able to find it next turn, essentially follow up with one of those 7-cost spells, and wow, Lyanon hits.
That is the dream. And Elysiana's in the deck too.
How greedy is
what is this deck?
It's pretty great. But the greed might not matter when you got 2 10-10s on the board, and I don't see a Cascading Disaster. There is
Plague of Flames. Yeah.
But no way to put enough minions on the board for that to be relevant just yet.
So you could Veiled Worshipper and then hope you draw something cheap enough to play alongside the Plague, but like Plague into Soul Shear and then use Veiled Worshipper into Soul Shear and then you Plague. But that's pretty much where you're at right now in this game.
And he's going to overdraw by 1 if he does that as well. I mean, the other option is you potentially Silas one of the 10-10s away, but that doesn't feel great when you're getting punched by the other 10-10 that's also going to cast a second spell twice, or cast a spell twice. So this is just a really tough spot for Justin to be in. And all of a sudden, this Res Priest is a beatdown priest. So
does pick up the Spirit Jailer, so there is an option here. He can hit. He can hit 2 out of, or he's hitting 1 out of the 2 at least.
Right. Pretty happy against the Vargoth.
Yeah, Vargoth was the important one there.
Right. Luciana, you know, it's gonna hurt, but this Master Res is also gonna hurt, especially if it picks up that Vargoth. There it is.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Man, just a dream game for mine on getting the Vargoth off the idol into basically the nightmares that people have when they play against Priest.
Does it have to be Militia into Plague here, or is there anything else you could draw? I don't see it being an option. I mean, you could Shield of Galakron as well.
No,
This is just it, though.
And you can kill off one of these 2/5s to give yourself a little bit better odds of hitting
Right.
the 10-10, but I mean, yeesh. So there's still going to be 8 damage on the board, so
He
that's
hit
the
it, though.
10-10 at least. And he leaves up 2 root points, so yeah, about as well as you could hope for, but man, you're still just going to be scrambling for the rest of this game, I think.
A rest of this game that might not be much longer.
Yeah, definitely not the position you want to be in as the Warlock.
Almost out of time.
From my perspective, you just throw your minions face and probably in turn, I guess you could Holy Nova if you really wanted to. And Palm Reading is fine.
Yeah, start with the
See,
Palm Reading. Can always use the Renew. Find some,
Yeah.
you know, like Apotheosis or something along those lines to get a
Yeah,
little
I
bit
mean,
more
there's
burst.
a chance to get lethal here if you find one of those buff spells and Renew for the other one.
Inner Fire.
Right, exactly.
Inner
Wait,
Fire
is that-
was not. Well,
Sure, why not?
why not? Yeah.
This is just it's just a bounty urges for the Res Priest.
Picks up a couple Bone Wraiths, which mathematically speaking was the most likely result from that, as the most of them have died so far.
Yeah, I think we might be looking at the end of this game and the end of series number 1 for the Legacy Finals. Actually, series number 3, excuse me. 1 for us, 3 for the
Correct.
whole show. The Res Priest doesn't need a whole lot to go its way. When you hit things like Vargoth off idle, then yeah, it's just a brutal situation for your opponent.
So, okay, so Silas does offer a little bit of respite here, stealing that Reborn 2/6. I mean, it means this game's not over at this point.
Not definitely over. I mean, I think it's still likely over. Let's see. I wonder if you can just Hysteria the 2/6 and let it just kind of kill itself off and save your attacks. And then Holy Nova behind, and you're pretty likely. I think you Hysteria. I guess maybe you can Hysteria twice if you're going this route. Yeah, I think that's what my Ana's going to do.
Yeah, and you Holy
This
Nova
makes sense.
first to hopefully
Right.
keep that 2/3 up, because it would need to be hit twice in a row. Oh, nope. Okay, hit once.
One of them.
All right, and that's one of the. Yeah.
So he just needs Silas to live at this point. And no, I guess that's it.
It looks with the emotes. It looks like that is it.
Yeah.
And
So you could probably
Myanodon.
Hysteria again, but that works. So Myanodon takes it.
So Myanodon for the second or third week in a row winning on stream, and the second week in a row we've seen an undefeated player fall, because last week Desharmo upset Mr. Python, who was undefeated going into the match that they were playing. So very impressive win for Myanodon there. And so 3-1 brings this series back into F2L's court now, as they're up 9-7, I believe, if my math is correct.
That's right.
It's good to get the math right every once in a while.
Well done.
Thanks, appreciate it. So that being said, we are, of course, moving into a third match of the night, which is going to be the second match here of this Foolish Madmen versus F2L series. So we're going to, as much as we love to talk to Myanodon, we're going to skip right on by the interview portion here and move to Game 3. We'll bring Myanodon back in afterwards if F2L ends up clinching it tonight. So I'll let him know to be on standby there. And just to While
I'm
we
sure he's not going anywhere.
Oh no, he's going to be glued to the stream just like everyone else is right now. We appreciate everybody tuning in tonight because this is such an awesome night of matches, and it's only going to get better. Isocles, so you want to take us through this Diamond versus Slad match while I get everything set up so the graphics are correct?
Yeah, so Diamond will be representing Foolish Batman's last chance here in this series. He has to win, or we are done with Legacy this season. He has brought Druid, Paladin, Rogue, and Warrior, going up against Slad, bringing the Druid, Mage, Paladin, Warrior. So we had mentioned at the start how F2L Red had mostly kept the same lineup intact. 3 other players bringing Mage, Paladin, Priest, Warrior. Slad decided to deviate from that ever so slightly by dropping the Priest and adding the Druid. So it could be interesting to see what his thought process was on that, to see which versions of the Mage and Warrior that he's bringing, considering what Myaonon brought, if they're all on the same page or if he goes with a slightly different lineup. So from Diamond's perspective, with the Druid and Paladin, Rogue and Warrior, I wouldn't be surprised here to see Warrior ban. I keep calling for Warrior bans. Seems to be like my common theme. You'll notice I ban Warrior a lot, so just a little inside intel. But from Diamond's perspective, a couple decks that might be a little bit weaker into it. Then again, I could backtrack and say if that Druid is a little heavier, then Warrior might not necessarily be the best choice. From Slat's perspective, we saw Myaonon ban the Rogue. We've seen Marty B and Rotted Zombie ban the Rogue. So I'm just going to say that Slat's going to ban the Rogue also and just go 4 for 4 on Rogue bans. And there's no reason for them to deviate from that. It's working out pretty well so far. So.
Well, we will have to see what the results are. I'm going to let the players know they can get to banning. And in the meantime here, this has been Diamond. Obviously watching his teammate on stream, and I had to give him the news that we're ready for them. So that's a little bit of a spoiler for just Diamond. So I apologize, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it was inevitable. There's no way to avoid that.
Outside of it going to 5 games.
Yeah. I mean, no way.
But yeah, this is an exciting night. We'll have to see if we get to match 5 of this series. It's historically these finals matches have not really gone to 5 games as far as I can remember. There's been a few in the past, but they tend to be somewhat lopsided.
Yeah, sometimes goes that way. I do remember very distinctly last season definitely did go to 5 games because Yellow Dart had put himself in that spot to be Game 5 and ended up clinching it for Dab Legend. Being very emotional about that because, to your point, the previous times Dab Legend had been in the finals had been pretty lopsided to the point that Yellow Dart didn't even get to play at all. So he was happy it worked out for him in that perspective. But so. How are we doing on? I guess they're still working on.
They're still banning at this point, but
so quick shout outs to one of the FTL players, Mr. Robopson, who has been name checked a couple times tonight already, but he is still up in chat watching these matches. So his proclamation earlier of not staying up to watch so that he could be arrested for a potential Game 5 tomorrow if necessary seems to have not held true because he is here in the peanut gallery. Enjoying this spectacle and rooting on his teammates as right now they're potentially 1 series away from keeping him from having to play tomorrow. So I'm sure he's double incentivized to root for Slad here to close it out for F2L. Or there's going to be a very sleepy Robopson on Soulstorm tomorrow. So I might go ahead and spectate Slad here because he is participating in a Tavern Brawl, which I'm sure is going quite well for him. Nope, there he goes. It is no longer in place.
Okay.
We probably just got the message either from you or from Diamond that
yes,
we got a match to play. So
I mean, and I do appreciate the players being very flexible, especially when we have a 3-set like this, because you can bank on the start time on the first series, and then from there it just gets progressively more random as we go along. And we had series 1, the players did play quickly, so that does help us from a logistics standpoint. But then we had Justin and Myandon are more deliberate there, taking their time, especially in like that warrior versus warrior game where there's so many things to think about on every single turn. That it's really it's hard to schedule these things specifically. So I do thank every player who takes those like later matches, knowing I could play anywhere between like 10 to 10:30, or in this case 11 to 11:30. So it's very appreciated from a content standpoint that you guys are so patient with us. And always thanks for offering to play on stream. It's great entertainment. We wouldn't do this if we didn't enjoy it either.
And shout out to I think Diamond and Slide for originally having the match scheduled at the early end of our triple header, and then accommodating both of us and our young children by moving to the post double header slot to give us the third match on stream. So thank you both.
Correct. Salty Datter Day becomes a sleepy Sunday at this point, as we are probably going to go past midnight before this ends, unless this series goes very quickly.
If it goes past midnight here for me, then something will have gone horribly wrong, because I am an hour behind here in the Central Time
yes,
Zone,
that's
so
right.
Not as bad for me.
You're in the land that was formerly deep frozen last week.
Yeah, no kidding. So happy to be able to walk outside today. It was nice.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm just used to it always being cold up here.
Yeah. No, we were not prepared.
Literally. So we are going to see a double Paladin ban this game.
Okay. So Slod deviating from the rest of his team, banning Rogue, and Diamond deciding that Paladin is the worst deck to play. So pretty interesting. I think that's what Just in Time did as well. So yeah, maybe on the kind of similar wavelengths with almost the same lineup. Diamond having Druid instead of Justin's Warlock. So maybe a little bit worse to the Paladin. So it makes sense that Diamond would also ban Paladin there. So it's up to say what will be the lead here. Wouldn't be surprised to see, honestly, Warriors starting out for both players. Unless one of the players has a Druid specifically built to beat Warrior. But I think Warrior seems like the safe bet for a starting deck. So.
Yeah, it's always a good starting point when you get a deck that works pretty well against a majority of your opponent's lists. So we got Druid Rogue Warrior versus Druid Mage Warrior. I think Warrior, is probably the safe bet on either side of the aisle here. And we're just waiting for them to start. Well, Diamond, does he not have spec on? Oh no, there it is. Okay, it popped up.
Yeah. We're in game, and hey look, it's a Warrior Mirror. Who would have guessed?
You guessed it.
I feel like I've seen some of these cards before. This is very familiar to me. 3 series, 3 Warrior Mirrors. I like it. Not quite the Priest Mirror shenanigans that you and Markshire had last week, but...
Oh my goodness. One thing I would like to point out from a meta perspective, we've seen 4 different Warrior heroes in these last 2 series.
Sure. Yeah. It's not bad. So Slide, we see the Grom. So this looks like just a pure Enrage bottom ring layer, especially in Kor'kron. So no ETC shenanigans most likely in this deck. From Diamond's perspective, we see a shield block. So probably looking at one or both, I guess, if you're Justin, of the Salus or ETC options. So this might end up being favored for Diamond here if he's able to kind of weather the early pressure and stay out of charge range. With Slidey having the coin, it does represent a significant amount of damage from a single charge combo. If he's able to keep that coin, but Warriors in their armor gains, Diamond just has to stay out of range of that for the better part of this game, and should be in good place here.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting. We did see the Grom in the mulligan there, because that coin makes that Grom combo possible.
Mm-hmm. Even separate from the Grom combo, just having the coins to throw out an extra shield one on the Kor'kron when it gets caught copied by the +1 is a significant amount of damage as well. So that coin just, if he's able to be greedy with it, just enables so much extra damage that could be the difference in being able to close out the game or just being ground down by the Control Warrior. So from Diamond's perspective, picks up the Ankar, which is always nice to have. Might just be a turn where he swings with the 3/2 just to be able to play the Ankar behind it, start drawing the skippers. He's got one in hand already, but being able to pull out the other skipper, the other Sword Eater, before battle raging and all that just kind of maximizes the draw. Just if you get the sense in this matchup, having seen the Bomber Angler, that this won't go to fatigue. So you are definitely incentivized to draw through your deck as quickly as possible. So I like this from Diamond, getting the Ankar developed.
Yeah, I think that was the right line here with the context of what he's got in hand right now. And Slot on the other side picks up the discounted cutting class, which could start with that. But I mean, you're going to be, again, run into hand size issues here real quick.
Yeah, because there's nothing you really want to play. I think you're probably better off swinging with the Ankar because you're going to draw the Sword Eater, I think. Or I guess there's a chance you could draw the Sky Raider, but Sword Eater is the really good pickup here. Yeah, just play something out and set up your cutting class for next turn.
Minefield, the top deck for Diamond. Looks like gonna lead with that. Yeah, clean removal of the 2/5. Can swing to face instead of taking damage.
Right. So he picks up his other Sword Eater. It's pretty nice. Be able to play that next turn after swinging with the Ankar again.
Yeah, it lets you delay the Battle Rage one more turn, which I think at this point is fine because it's going to be a pretty big draw.
So everything we said about saving this coin, Slot's about to toss it out there, which I don't actually mind, just because of how much damage you're holding and how much you just need to draw through your deck to get some pressure out there. Picking up the Sky Raider is pretty nice. Lets you play something, and hope you draw something else playable that isn't the Burglar that gives you another card. That works out pretty well.
Sapper, yep.
Nobody loots these ruins but me.
Sapper, a card that has not seen play in any rogue deck, but has seen play in almost every warrior deck this entire expansion.
So now picks up the probably the other skipper. He knows the last pirate in his deck. Haven't seen both Sword Eaters. Okay. Picks up a Dragon Lackey and plays the other Sword Eater. I guess there's a chance that something gets bounced back to your hand, which could overdraw you. It doesn't necessarily die on board, but Slot really wanted to. He could try to kill off his own Sapper for that reason. Don't know if he'll go that route, but it's a possibility. I think he more likely is just going to play out the Blood Boil Brutes here. Even at full mana, it just feels like the best thing he can do at the moment, just to keep the pressure on, because he really needs to do some damage to Diamond while he can, in order to set up this what will most likely be a Corcoran combo later in the game. This allows him just to play off the taunt and then push probably at least 4 damage, maybe 7 damage base. I mean, I think that 2/3 is always trading back into you, but maybe it.
Well, I think you swing there with the second Sword Eater in hand.
Right. Oh, you were always swinging. It was just a question of whether or not you wanted to kill the minion or go face with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess killing the minion is good because it kind of protects your board a little bit in case Diamond plays a skipper or something else. Or if he had a Bladestorm in hand, for example, the 2/3 could have traded into the Brute and a nice clean Bladestorm. But now you're kind of forcing Diamond to use a little more resource to play these 2 minions.
We're going to see with Skipper and Armorsmith in hand, and 2 of each, you can opt to just use one combo here. Battle Rage, Cutting Class. You've got options to draw without overly committing.
It's interesting that he didn't swing in first here, because I think he's going to end up going for a Battle Rage. But now he's going to have too much armor. But maybe he's just more focused on getting the kills than necessarily getting the extra draw.
Drawing 2.
Yeah, so if he had swung Okay, so this makes sense. He wanted to save the swing so he could bounce back one of these minions, and I think getting the skipper back is extremely valuable, probably more valuable than just another card draw. So I
Yes.
like that from Diamond. That's well played.
Yeah, that was definitely an intriguing turn. There were definitely different lines that he could have gone with, and yeah, I like the result of that quite a bit.
Slot is piling up a ton of damage now. With 9 mana, he'll be able to do 8, 11, 14, 28 damage. So he is a Bloodsworn away from a really good time. Like really just going to be a threat to the Diamonds almost from any life total, especially if he clears off this Armor Smith and depending on whether or not Diamond goes for another combo, Armor Smith combo here soon.
Second Battle Rage, the draw gives Diamond another option here to just draw a ton of cards.
Yeah, I think opting for the Cutting class and then probably following up with the Dragonmoth Skystalker seems like a pretty decent play here.
Brawl Corsair. He's already drawn Ankar. Is there? It's unlikely
Could be
there's a
Bulwark.
second. Yeah, I would say a second weapon would have to be Bulwark at this point.
Yeah, I think so. So we see the Broom. I don't think you need to play the Broom here. I think just having the 5/6 is fine. I guess maybe. That being said, not killing it would have been lethal if Slot had drawn the Bloodsworn. So yeah, maybe Diamond's got that in the back of his mind. But I kind of like Slot. He's hovering over Risky Skipper. I was gonna say Risky Skipper in the Grom here, just to push 10 damage. It kind of signals to Diamond maybe that he should probably armor up a little bit, but at the same time, like it's still a Grom that you have to deal with
Right.
in addition to gaining life. So it might not necessarily be a bad play, but what you might opt to do is kind of take the middle ground and Skipper into Wrangler, and then draw off of that, and see how it goes from there.
Looks like that's the route. It's gonna draw
Going through
3.
cards, getting a minion that you can play would feel pretty good. Clip over is one
off.
one damage minion away. Unfortunate. Yeah, so this is a little bit tricky now. Yeah.
Never
Play
feels good to
there,
play the second
Skipper.
Skipper. Yeah.
And it just doesn't let you, still doesn't let you play the Brute. So, I mean, it does keep the card out of your hand, but yeah, he really at this point is just looking for a +1. So I think Diamond's in a pretty precarious position, but picking up his own +1 now gives him a really good way of dealing with this. The one thing you risk if you try to Skipper Armor Smith is the bombs blowing up on your Skipper. You do have 2, so you kind of have that fallback option, but and I guess you also have the possibility of just trading your 5/2 into a bomb just to reduce that option even further. As crazy as that sounds,
It does sound crazy, but I see the logic behind it.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Diamond he's read this game pretty well, I'd say overall. Whether he feels like he needs to do that in this turn, but I just don't see a lot of other options. I guess Brawl is a pretty decent option, also. Brawl with the armor up, but it looks like he's gonna go with the Armor Smith play. So see where this bomb goes.
Right to face.
Yeah, you don't mind that. And then he used to draw a whole lot of cards. He's gonna overdraw. Not right away, but he will.
No, he's
No,
not gonna
the
overdraw because
bomb
one of his
hit him.
minions. Yeah, one of his
Yeah.
minions dropped.
There we go.
So it ended up working
Diamond,
out quite well.
Calculating exactly what he needed to not overdraw. Well played.
And now Slot has the discount on the Brute to 4. And you gotta imagine that maybe use that Scythe here to clear up some of this board.
Yeah, I think so, because you can do that with the Battle Rage. Works
Right.
out pretty nicely. The Brute kills off the Armor Smith, and then this is a good clean kill. But you're also at the point now where you need to push some damage to the face. Because Diamond's armored up well out of range of what you can do in a single turn. So I think we're at the point in the game where this might have swung Diamond's
Yeah.
way after that
Might
last
just see
turn.
Rattlegore here now.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's a reason not to. Your opponent doesn't have anything on the board. You're at 43 life. He's at 18. I think you just want to get Rattlegore down right now and try to end this game as fast as possible.
I mean, as a threat, what does Slad do to get rid of the Rattlegore? I highly doubt there's any sort of theft in the Enrage Warrior along the lines of like Silas. So Rattlegore just
Really?
lives.
Yeah. Yeah, your only option, I mean, Barrel doesn't do it for you. Basically, you kind of have to just throw down Grom and throw it face, and then hope you draw the Bloodsworn, maybe another
Right.
Bloodsworn. You just don't have a way. I guess with Cutting Class, you can draw both Bloodsworns potentially, but even that's not enough because you don't have a coin anymore. So you're kind of stuck. Like you're just really in a bad spot now. So that Rattlegore is probably game winning for Diamond at this point.
I can wait no longer.
Gonna use that Cutting Class as well. And there's the Bloodsworn.
So he gets one. So let's see. He's gonna go push 16 this turn. Yeah, I think you saved the shield. So you actually are in a position where you are going to have enough damage from hand because Kor'kron is going to be 24 with the weapon swing. So he's going to be one off, I think, because Diamond can get to 29 and Slot will be able to do 28. So that assumes he armors up here.
Yeah, I think the understanding here with this play is that Armor Up is going to finish this turn and be just enough to stay out of range. Yep.
Wow. So Slot's going to end up being one off lethal.
And Sky Raider's not a card that will assist.
For the war chief!
At this point, this is showing information, even if it's not lethal. However, I don't think any of these cards are things that will shock Diamond as to what is being played right now anyway.
But when there's like, I mean, in this type of series, you're never going to concede. But like on ladder, sometimes you catch people who just see you start to do things and just assume you have it, and then they concede for you. So, yeah, I don't think that was necessarily something that was ever going to happen in a game of this magnitude. But you never know. So, but well played by Diamond there, just navigating that extremely well and making sure that he did what he needed to do to stay out of range. Basically every turn he was always just enough life to survive, and Slide was putting out enough pressure to make that challenging, but Diamond navigated it well and takes a 1-0 lead. So Foolish Madman likes to see that from a series they have to win.
And you pointed out too, navigated it well, but also staying out of range. It's very important that you don't make a mistake too, because like making even the smallest mistake that game, he only lived by 1 health. Would it cost him?
Right, exactly. Yeah, which 1 armor up missed along the way. So we see Slide stick to the Warrior, which makes sense because I think it lines up extremely well into Druid and Rogue, especially if Diamond's got something like a Treant Druid, and the Diamond opting to go for the Rogue, which looks like a Warpick Rogue. So this one looks pretty favored for the Warrior, but you never know. Rogues can pull out some crazy shenanigans sometimes. So we'll see how this plays out. But really good start for Slot here with the Sky Raider and Wormwall Challenger. Definitely the banes of Rogue's existence with that 110 that just kills anything. So.
Yeah, a lot of good counters to any of that early Rogue game plan. Obviously, Slad does not yet know what type of Rogue this is, but no matter what, the Rogue is going to want to get on board and do things quickly, and those are tools that definitely counter that.
Right. So it's not a bad start for Diamond having the Foxy into Miscreant. You love that against just about every class. But again, Warrior with the Wormwall Challenger makes that a pretty unfortunate play sometimes. Pretty good pickup for Slot there with the Scaveteer.
Yeah.
A little extra draw, a little extra annoyance for the Rogue to deal with. So
it's something to play on too.
Right. And Diamond probably just needs to dagger, and I guess you can punch the 1-2, but I don't know. tough call sometimes, whether you want to punch it or not. Extra damage, you don't heal, so just wait on your other stuff to deal with it. So
Yeah.
now, God.
I would say, yeah, probably looking to Foxy Fraud Evil Miscreant next turn, and I think at that point you feel like you've got enough on board that you can handle the 1-2, not take the extra damage.
Yeah, I wonder if there's ever a world where Sly would have considered Inner Age, Shield of Honor on his 1-2. I think if he hadn't had the Scaveteer as a play, that might have been a bigger consideration. I'm pretty happy with the Scaveteer there, but just throwing out a minion with Divine Shield, pretty annoying for rogues to deal with sometimes. So
Definitely.
could have been a little spicy. But. And I think for Sly here is pretty simple Warmaw into the Miscreant. It's really challenging for rogues to deal with that type of minion, so we'll see if that's what he opts to do.
And that would make the Warmaw a 1-6 ultimately, or alternatively, if you want to use it on the 3-2, a 1-4 instead. But I think probably getting rid of the Miscreant because you just know that there's those bounce shenanigans and whatnot, and that hinders the value machine for Diamond if you do it. And I think that's probably the preferred method here.
Mm-hmm. So I just considering his options. If he's going to go with the Challenger, I guess there's maybe some consideration of attacking with the Scaveteer first. Oh, interesting. So he's going to value trade a little bit with the other two minions. Or just ignore the Miscreant altogether, which probably makes more sense. So a little less life on the Warmaw, but a little less damage on the board for Diamonds. So Sly opting to, I guess, be a little more aggressive with his play overall. Represent more of a threat on the board than it would have been the other way. So Diamond does have the option to play a few cards and Price Plunder or something. I don't really. I guess he could eviscerate this 1-4 just to keep it off the board. I think that's probably fine. Only one thing that Rogue would have a hard time dealing with this matchup is a minion that gets buffed up with Inner Age and Shield of Honor, which you obviously saw from last turn and last game.
I was just going to say, we saw that last series, yeah, where the 3-7 Warmaw was immortal.
Right. So Slab now kind of, the Reaper Scythe is a good play here. I don't think he wants to burn the Spell Burst this turn. I don't think this board is quite threatening enough. I think you're fine just punching the 1-4, calling it good, because you don't really have a good follow-up to use with that coin. Like, you're just...
Yeah, you're just using the coin at that point. I mean, ultimately, without a healing capability for this rogue, you're probably thinking, okay, I can afford to get my combo down a little bit. It's not as critical that I do massive damage because I'm obviously going to chip as the game goes along. So I think that probably was a consideration there, that the coin was not as crucial. But a lot of combo cards in Slad's hand.
But even aside from the coin, it's just using up the spell burst there. Probably as soon as Diamond played Jandice, Slad was like, ah, crap, I should have maybe waited on that. Because, punching the spell burst into a Jandice is pretty good, other than when there's a taunt like this. But so Slad at least has the Skipper Bara if he wants to clean this up easily enough, which is probably fine. Bara is a pretty premium resource for the Warrior in this matchup. If Diamond's able to get a questing down or something, then not having that Bara might come back to hurt him a little bit. But I think you're probably okay if you're Slad with how this game's going so far.
Diamond will rip the Secret Passage, gets a Whirlkick Master and a Wand Thief. Right off the top there, pretty good start. Ooh, and an Edwin. Now do you Wand Thief into Edwin and just accept that 6/6 Edwin? No, we're going to go with the Whirlkick Master.
Having just seen the Bear, I absolutely would. I think I would have saved the Whirlkick and just done what you said with the Wand Thief into Edwin.
An unfortunate Discover there.
You don't mind Arcane Intellect, I think, being a pretty decent pickup. Polymorph's okay too, because you don't have a lot of removal for certain things. Big Brute that comes down that you want to clear off easily. That makes sense. But not being able to follow up anything, having two 1/2s on the board instead of a 6/6. I think I would have liked to have seen Edwin there. just save the World Kick for later. But
Right.
yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
I think to me, you'd be sitting there thinking, all right, if the 1-2 lives through a turn, then it's absolutely worth it. The World Kick lives through a turn, then it's worth it. But you're looking
It's
at a
never
weapon.
living.
There's a weapon on
Right.
Slad's side, so you know that it's never going to live. Whereas a 6/6 could, but would need some assistance from Slad's hand in order to die. So yeah, I think that might have been too aggressive a use of that World Kick.
And the thing that Diamond kind of had going for him a little bit is that Slide just has nothing to do. He's all these buffs. He is the Bloodsworn, but he doesn't have card draw. Hasn't found an anchor. Hasn't found either Cutting Class or either Battle Rage. So I take that back. I think he's played one Battle Rage, or no, maybe he threw one back from his bulletin because I showed it on my tracker as being there. But yeah, so Slide's kind of in a tough spot now. The one way that Rogue can win this matchup is when they're able to just kind of overwhelm the Warrior when the Warrior doesn't have its normal engine of drawing cards and clearing boards. We've seen Barrow get played. We've seen at least one weapon out of the deck. So there's an opportunity here for Diamond to kind of take control of this game potentially. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have much to do on his side either because most of his cards are pretty reactive as well. Playing the Foxy, I think, makes sense just to have it on the board. I don't know why he's holding back. This is a really good opportunity for the Rogue to actually, put some damage out there.
Right.
Be threatening, but you don't want to be passive in this matchup as the Rogue. Just giving the Warrior time to recover is pretty risky.
And at this point, too, the Foxy Fraud, the Foxy Fraud's bread and butter is that early game discount cards, so that way I can play things above the curve. However, we're at, going into 8 mana next turn. Realistically, with what you've got in hand, what is Foxy Fraud going to discount that you couldn't already probably play anyway? I mean, even if it discounts like an Edwin by 2 mana, you're looking at probably losing 2/2 off of that Edwin at most.
Yeah.
So
I think the consideration is that the Edwin is 1, and then Price Plunder is 2. Just things that having an extra card played, but I think I'd rather just have had a 3/2. But the interesting thing here is Diamond does have some removal that Rogues don't always have available to them with the Polymorph and Course. And granted, this deck is designed to generate that type of removal, but just having it feels pretty good because it potentially answers Slad's best option next turn, which would have been the Grom prior to this taunt coming down. So.
And yeah, Slad getting into somewhat of a dangerous life total here. That Armor Smith could
what
help.
A big pickup.
Yeah.
The one downside is that he doesn't have the Battle Rage to go with it. But just getting that Armor Smith is gonna feel pretty good to kind of stem the tide a little bit and get his life total back up.
Also, correction, doesn't have Battle Rage yet, but there is a draw on board as well.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, you obviously Bloodsworning here to get extra armor hit in, and if you do high roll that Battle Rage, 2 out of 17 in the deck, just absolutely devastating.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. He's gonna probably end up playing the Shield of Honor. I guess the question is, like, you play Shield of Honor, your main doesn't die, so you don't get the draw, but you clear off the 3/2, so you make it a little awkward. I wonder if there's ever a consideration to playing the Shield of Honor and be copying the Skyvateer instead of the Armor Smith. I know, like, your life total feels like the most important thing, and against Rogue it often is, but you're kind of in a weird spot in terms of your hand. If this Grom is probably going to be enough to finish this game off, but if it's not, then you are really looking at Dark Resources from the Warriors' perspective.
Yeah, because I mean, Grom represents 15 right now, just with what you've got in hand.
Yeah, so it's your Armor Smiths are both going to die here. You probably expect this 4/1 to die to something. Could even be Polymorph, honestly. I don't think I would Polymorph it, but like, you stop the draw, so I think it probably just gets plundered here. It's gonna plunder this Kipper. Interesting. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Diamond's in a counter spot, so we're 1 off lethal once again for Slad. Just seems to be the theme of the night for him. But I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't just go ahead and slam this Grom and hit him for all you got.
Yeah, I mean, hard to know that card that was generated is polymorph in hand, and yeah, it answers the Grom, but even there, it's not enough by
No.
itself to
Oh,
answer everything. So
he's got ball wrangling. I shouldn't be. I mean, this is fine. Like maybe he has the read that there is some crazy removal in hand. Maybe
Possibly.
he's fine with just putting out the minion on the board and saving Grom for next turn when next turn is gonna be lethal. Based
Yeah.
on what you've seen Diamond be able to do.
I mean, it is the second
So-
game in a row now that we've seen Slad be very conservative with the Grom, and
Right.
yeah, we're gonna see the polymorph come out here, but it's just far too little.
Yeah, so this works out. Just waiting an extra turn because he didn't have lethal. Going ahead and making a play that almost certainly sets up lethal for the next turn because rogues don't have healing. They have very limited con options. So yeah, so I don't mean to be too critical. This was a well played by Slod in a
Sure.
matchup that he should be favored and kind of had to navigate not having as many resources as a Warrior's used to having. But in the end, he still gets there with the Grom lethal. So we have a tie series.
From one off to exact lethal, yes. Warrior win in both games, both of the first two games of the series. And we are now looking at game 3. It's basically a best of 3 from this point out. A best of 3 for Foolish Madmen to survive to move on to the final game of the series. Or the final series, or final match of the series, I should say.
So we've got an unknown druid on both sides, along with the World Kick Rogue for Diamond and a mage for Slod. Depending on the druid picks, it could be pretty interesting here. I think whichever one bought the Bastard Druid is going to be favored in that matchup, but not against the mage necessarily. So, but we won't see any druids yet. We've got
Rogue versus mage.
mage versus rogue. Yeah.
And so we see a Firebrand in hand for Slod. That
I think the Frostball is an indication that this is a spell damage mage.
yeah,
Barov
though.
Firebrand is a pretty good. Yeah, so I haven't seen his cards come back up. I may have just bugged out there. Oh, there we go. Just took a minute.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a
it's
spell
definitely
damage.
spell
Double Fireball with a Violet spell, Spellwing
Yeah,
in
it's
hand.
actually a pretty rough opening hand for the mage. Like having fireballs there is just going to basically be useless for
Right.
most of this game. The one thing that might be useful for them is to pick off a questing. If Diamond's only able to buff it up to 4 or 5 or 6 life. So yeah, kind of a tough spot for the mage to open. On the other hand, the Diamond has a pretty good start. Not only with that questing, which can be pretty tough for a mage to deal with. Most of these decks, most of the spell damage mages don't run evolving and limited ways of generating cards early to deal with it. So he has some pretty good potential for that questing to run away this game. But for this turn, most likely it's just going to be a coin miscreant to establish some presence. And no, I guess he's going to wait and just try to get as much out of this questing as possible with the coin. Just dagger up and hold your horses a little bit.
Primordial Studies, quite the boon off the top there for Slod. Solarian, Steward of Scrolls, and the Archmage. Solarian, far and away the most valuable of those options to take there.
And we'll probably see him hold it so he can play with the Crime Session next turn.
I would agree.
Because you play it now, it just gets backstabbed, and you're still just waiting for some spell damage to draw. So I like this by Slod. Just be patient with the Astromancer.
We're probably going to see the questing come down this turn, though, which will result in a Fireball answering it.
I think Diamond will probably want to try to buff it up. I mean, granted, I say that, and he's starting to hover over it. If he didn't Coin Miscreant last turn, I kind of would be surprised to see him Coin Miscreant this turn, but everybody's opting to do, so.
I guess it does give you 2 lackeys to play alongside the questing.
Right. Yeah, and being able to buff it with the Nitro Boost also makes sense.
Right.
Start pushing the damage, because again, similar to a Rogue, Mage has almost no life gain. Occasional Ice Barrier generated, or some minion off of Janus or something, but generally speaking, you what you see is what you get from the Mage perspective, so.
choose soon.
I guess the option is whether to swing or not. I don't mind waiting. Just putting 3 damage out now is fine. Waiting and being able to get 2 trades with your weapon seems pretty good also. But I think now we're just going to see the Astromancer and Karam Session. I don't know that you'd think that the 3/4 is threatening enough to Fireball. It doesn't feel good. Tough to say. I think you just want to draw. I think you kind of want to establish.
Yeah,
some
I think
resource
draw at this point is probably, with what you've got in hand, you're not trending towards a W, and you need to find better options, especially with drawing Jandice off the top there, a non-playable card this turn.
Crush your delusions of grandeur.
Gonna go all the way with the Sorcerer's Apprentice and then the Karam Session. Picks up a second Missiles and a Wand Thief. Wow, only 1 missile hitting the minion.
Runs out on me.
It's how it goes sometimes.
Could see the opposite side of the coin there if we play the second Arcane Missile, which we will. And let's see. Nope, 1 damage off.
So here comes Questing. But Questing's only going to get up to 4/4, I think. So prime Fireball territory.
Right.
But at the same time, it does. I mean, Slad's in a pretty rough spot here with the resources. Having those 2 Fireballs in hand, yeah, it does answer the Questing, but it's not really advancing your own game plan of how to win this game. So, you know, it stops you from losing right away, but it doesn't really do anything for you in terms of actually winning. So, at least he gets the one heat value out of it. Evocation, probably the best pick here, especially with the empty hand.
Yeah.
Gives you some ability to do something. So.
Yeah, Deep Freeze is far too late game of a card at this point, but Evocation offers up tons of choices, not necessarily always ones that you want, but at least it's an opportunity to find an answer to Diamond's ever-growing board threat here. Interesting that the 5/1 Rager, the Rock Rager, came down off of the Faceless, which threatening, but not as threatening against a mage.
I think if you're Diamond, I think you just Foxy Eviscerate face here. I think you just want to put out as much pressure as possible. You've seen this mage kind of struggle and throw Fireball at your Questing, so you're not in danger of anything really. I think you just want to try to end this game before the mage is able to develop on their own.
And here's that Evocation. We've got Font of Power, Elemental Allies, Combustion, Flame Ward, Cone of Cold,
and Combustion here, for sure.
Yeah, Combustion is. Oh, yeah, you can play the Elemental Allies too.
Yeah, you already have your allies in hand. You're not playing an Elemental this turn. I think I would rather play Flaunt because it's more value that you wouldn't otherwise have gotten.
Yeah, I think in retrospect that's probably the correct move, and we do have a Phoenix in hand, so potentially drawing an Elemental over the next 2 turns does get you there. But will the game even last that long at this point?
Yeah, I think the thought process is that you play the Elemental Allies off of the Evocation, you draw an Elemental, so you play your back-to-back Elementals, and then you can do it again over another 2 turns. But you're right, this game's not lasting that long. Most likely, Diamond's gonna be able to find his damage and he needs to clear things up. So, Jandice not bad, but we're almost at the point where Baroque has lethal damage coming back. Only, I think, 3 damage off right now. So we'll be able to prep for this and Secret Passage.
Secret Passage to find, yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind throwing down the Foxy now. It almost definitely gets a discount off something you draw.
And what 4 cards? Second Secret Passage won't help immediately. A Wand Thief could. Shadow Step and a World Kick Master. Okay, so we saw the World Kick play last game. Do we see it again here, or just going to rip a second Secret Passage?
And he's just going for it.
There's the Eviscerate. Don't even need to see the rest of the cards drawn because that is lethal.
So Diamond brings Foolish Madman 1 game away from sending this to a decisive 5th series. And he will need to win with his Druid against another Druid and against the Spell Damage Mage. So interesting to see what Druid that Diamond brought, because definitely a pretty wide variety of Druid options that have a pretty disparate win percent against mages and druids. So that being said, the druid that beats the mage loses to the other druid, and the druid that beats the druid loses to the other mage. So Diamond probably has a good chance of winning one of these games, depending on what he brought. So hopefully that sentence made sense.
That, I mean, it got there. I think, without mentioning specific archetypes, the token druid, which we're about to see from Diamond, is the unfavored matchup for the mage. And we see that Arcane Explosion in the opener for Slod, which is just phenomenal. That answers a lot of the early game for Diamond. So, Gibberling, a good key card. You want to get on board quick, but the problem here is you usually want to keep Glowfly, and it doesn't help your Gibberling on turn 1.
Yeah.
Also, no coin.
Right. Yeah, I think keeping the Gibberling and throwing the other two back is right here, and just hoping for the best. So, but yeah, so this is the druid that struggles against the mage, but should be pretty well positioned against the other druid. At worst, another mirror, but any druid that's slower than this one is gonna have a hard time dealing with the Gibberlings and things. So. But from Slot's perspective, he just has everything he needs to answer any early board. So I think this is going to be a pretty rough one for the Druid. That being said, starting with the lab partner is interesting.
Yeah, I would have probably held that back for the combo with the Arcane Explosion if I had my choice there.
Right.
Because now it's gone.
It's still okay because these Gibberlings aren't going to be buffed. You know, but Diamond will still have a 3/1 on the board, so. Won't be completely dead. I guess the other possibility from Slot's perspective, he could just ping the 1/1 spell burst and save the Arcane Explosion. I think you absolutely do that if you had saved the lab partner, but because you already played the lab partner, just playing the Arcane Explosion now is probably okay. So.
Yeah, either way, that Gibberling that has the spell on it has to go. It can't be allowed to run unchecked.
Yeah, but I think pulling out an Arcane Explosion now, from Diamond's perspective, he's probably okay with it. Being able to follow up with Final Portion or Bees, if Slot plays out the spell wing, kind of like Bees here, but we'll see how he decides to play this. Yeah, as much as it sucks to throw Bees into a minion that gives your opponent a spell that almost likely kills those Bees, kind of stinks, but there goes the other Gibberling, so I hate to see that, but...
I mean, at this point, most of the value in Gibberling is the use of it on that turn 1 or turn 2. It sucks that you're getting rid of a draw. Not necessarily, like, you would have rather draw anything else. Like, you don't care that you discarded the Gibberling. You just wish it was anything else in your hand. But let's see, Steward Scrolls. Blood Mage Thalnos is the pickup for Slod off of the Primordial Studies.
With the cherry on top.
Confection Cyclone, I think just like one of the weirdest themed cards that has come out in a long time.
Always makes me want ice cream.
Are you saying that there's a state of your life where you don't want ice cream?
Yes, if I've just eaten ice cream. I'm usually satisfied with the amount of ice cream that I've eaten.
That's actually a good response.
So I like, from Diamond's perspective, just drawing as much as you can to set up a big Glowfly next turn.
Definitely.
Having seen one Arcane Explosion, and these mage lists sometimes only run the one Arcane Explosion, so that feels pretty good. But Slot getting the Elemental Allies is a pretty big pickup, having just played the Cyclone, so allows him to set up the clean draw for the next turn. So a pretty good opportunity for Slot to find an answer here to what Diamond's about to do.
And what Diamond's about to do is play 7 2/2s. I'm sorry, 6 2/2s. I had the math right. I should trust myself. It was 7.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that one little Marcel Cub or whatever.
Yeah, threw me off for a second.
Thrown off, but he had enough cards. So we'll see if there's another Arcane Explosion or not.
Another Missiles, Primordial. Yeah, Cram Session. All right. So probably looking at a Sorcerer play from here in conjunction with some other spells in the hopes that you find what you're
Yeah.
looking for. So we'll probably see this plus
Closer studies.
Rams. Yeah.
Session. Yeah. It's a whole bunch of stuff coming down here. I think you do studies first because there's a chance you
Right.
might get some of this too expensive. These are all
Second
nice.
thoughts.
So then you run into studies, and we'll see if there's another explosion. But you're probably ripping both these missiles. So
Almost certainly, yes. Definitely gonna go with that. And we're gonna see.
Time runs out
Or
on
do you
you.
cram session again? No. Okay. Probably gonna use a frostbolt, I guess.
I think
Oh,
you save the other cram session. I'm gonna wait and see where these missiles hit. So really unfortunate.
wow!
Draws or hits. Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Absolutely the worst outcome for those missiles.
So he's got one arbor up in hand, which takes him to 20 damage. So potentially playing Bloom into Nature Studies to find. I would not start trading now. I would look for lethal. Honestly, like you don't know how often you're gonna have this type of board. This needs to be in a very aggressive turn from Diamond. I think you're 100% searching for death here. So I think you Bloom and then Studies. I don't even think you Bees
Gonna bees instead.
because you won't have any minions to survive it. Okay.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think he maybe didn't think that one all the way through. But this is not terrible. Being able to arbor up this big a board is pretty nice.
It still demands a response for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I like what you were saying there. Go for the studies and try to find something like that solar. You know, try to get you over the top.
I think we're pretty close to being okay here. So, just the fact that those missiles just completely whiffed, I think, was enough for Diamond to take this game. Depending on what comes off of this one
Yeah,
thief.
Wand Thief is crucial.
Nope,
None of
doesn't
those.
do it.
Yeah, none of those will do it. Ice
Yeah.
Barrier's not enough. Pawn of Power is not going to generate you anything that will get you there.
Yeah, so I think that's it. I think Diamond just sent this to the decider match tomorrow.
It does look that way right now. I'm just running through every possible option. There's just nothing enough in hand to get through. I think using that Arcane Explosion too early might have doomed Slod, but even then, you know, Diamond just had the juice to get there.
It was just the kind of sequence from those first two turns of playing the lab partner on turn 1 and then Arcane Explosion on turn 2 essentially, and those are just two premium cards, especially in this matchup that Slod just did not value highly enough, and it ended up costing him. And Diamond navigated it well. Got a little fortunate with those Arcane Missiles, but you know, he still played it well and got his team a win. So we'll be looking forward to Series 5 tomorrow on Schoolstone.
Yeah, exciting stuff. I mean, so we went from, you know, we started out 6-5 Foolish Madmen, and then F2L won a series 3-1, swing it right back 3-1 the opposite direction. So now it is a 1-point lead, but the points really, you know, inconsequential here because it all comes down to what happens, who is the winner of the series. There's no situation where the losing team in that series tomorrow can win this series. So F2L, I know they were hoping to clinch tonight. I know Captain Robobson staying up way past his bedtime to see. Did not get there, but let's see if we can maybe bring Diamond in here after this game's over. He's already messaging me. He wants to.
Should we bring Diamond and Myadon both in because they both won? Get a little competition going.
I
Is that
mean,
too much?
I think that might be a little too much. And as much as the people love Myadon and I love Myadon, we don't need to create drama here. I don't need to be presiding over like chair throwing or anything like that in the middle of the night. So let's get Diamond in here real quick. Someone I'm shocked is not on my Discord friends list somehow.
That seems extremely unlikely.
I know. I love how Diamond's response as I added friend was, "How are we not Discord friends?" Exactly what I just said. Did he not get added in here? There we go. All right. I thought I clicked the add button. I guess I didn't click the add button. Diamond, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, and
Sir?
I was just saying before you joined, the first thing I said, Icecleaves, was I guess I'm not friends with Discord on Discord with Diamond somehow, and I just thought it was funny that you responded in kind. But congratulations on the win and keeping your team alive.
I thought I didn't have to clutch this week either. It's same as last week. Like, holy, my team's really trying to put me through the stress.
Yeah, I mean, you handled it well. We talked about a couple things there, especially in that first game where, you survived just by the skin of your teeth with the 1 health, and how everything really had to be played perfectly from your end. Like, if you made one mistake, if you didn't armor up one time, that was it. You'd have lost. So, awesome to see you navigate that so well. I guess just in general thought process on your, lineup for the week, and was there anything you expected on Slad's end?
The only thing I was kind of sure of, because last time we played, he had Enrage Warrior, so I was like, maybe the Warrior's Enrage Warrior. But he actually switched everything up, and ironically enough, I just was like, I'm gonna just submit the roller of last week. But it's actually the exact same lineup I played against him last time, I'm pretty sure. Which I didn't intend for, but it's just the way it went. Because I talked to the team, I was like, I think I'm just gonna go Comfort this week. If I have to play, then I'll just play the decks I know. And these are the decks I've played all season for the most part. Like ETC Warrior, that's why I always queue it first if it's not banned, because it's been like my most comfortable deck this whole time. And I think Bomb Warrior was better statistically, but I hate playing Bomb Warrior because they'll have 7 bombs in deck and they never draw it, and it's like, come on.
I mean, you don't have to tell me. I understand completely what you mean.
Yeah, but everything else, yeah, I don't know. Everything else is kind of like it happened, and I guess it could have happened, but I wasn't as sure. I just kind of was like had a general knowledge of his classes. And I was like, all right, let's just go.
Well, it was definitely the right choices. You got there. This whole thing hinges now on the final match of the series tomorrow, which is Dardar versus Rebob. So you got your win as a captain. Rebob is the captain on the other side, looking to do the same. How confident are you in Dardar's ability to get the job done?
I mean, Darter, from what I've seen in the past, he's just really good at clutching it out. I think last season he clutched it out versus F2L. I don't know if that was against Bob or Itachi, but he won. I think he needed a sweep or something, and he got the sweep or the 3-1. So I'm confident in Dardar. I mean, last year is the year of Dardar Binks. I think it's carried over in 2021 as well. Let's make it the decade of Dardar Binks.
Time is not really understood at this point with the way the last year in the world has gone, so it could very well still be 2020 for all we know.
That is true. This is just 2020 part 2.
Well, that should be an exciting one to watch on stream tomorrow for sure. Dardar and Rebobson are both fantastic players, so I'm excited to see that one. Dardar has had a little bit of a down season by his standards, but that's not something that I think anybody could fault for, especially in like a weird shifting meta at the halfway point. But Diamond, you as a captain, I've been a player of yours before, and I know that you take captaining very seriously. You've had kind of so many close calls, both playoffs, finals. Like, how much would it mean to you to get over the hump here, to get this Legacy Championship?
I think honestly, with this season, with this group, I think it kind of has to happen at this point. Like, I don't think I've ever made it this far, period, in a finals of a team I've captained. I think it's always been, I know with you, when you're on my team with the Burbs, we got the triple tiebreaker, or we're out in quarters. So the fact that we've made it to finals, it's game 5, Dardar's there as well to play it out. I'm feeling good, and I'll see if it, because I'm thinking of taking a break next season too. So I think ending on a championship would feel really good.
Breaking news here as we enter into Sunday. Didn't expect that.
Gotta throw in the drama. Gotta make this even more.
All right. Yeah, you get the win, then you leave for a season, you come back like Jordan. You throw on the 4-5 and get another championship.
That's exactly what Ron told me. I was like, I think I'm gonna take a break. He's like, oh, just like Jordan, and I'm like, easy.
Nice.
Yeah, but no, this group especially because I actually met them. So I knew Dardar and Justin via Avi, but with Bun and Jimbo, I volunteer coach for the Northeastern team. I met him, talked with them for TESPA, and honestly, I expected us to do well. I didn't expect an undefeated season of this caliber. I don't know if we right now have the most points in Legacy, but I
You
think
definitely do.
yeah, like I don't know, it's insane to me. Each week it happens, I'm like, oh shit, 20 points, 20 points. Like it just kept adding up. But
Yep.
yeah.
Well, you won't get to 200, unfortunately. There's no the math just doesn't work out on that. But that would have been cool to see a legacy team hit 200 points on the season.
Yeah, maybe when I return, we'll hit the 200.
Well, Isocles, any other questions you have for Diamond here?
No, I think I guess no. I take that back. There's one question I have to ask while we're watching this replay on the stream. What were you thinking when all those missiles just
Oh, my
perfectly
goodness.
aligned to keep all your glow flies alive?
What I realized at this point, I'm like, oh shoot, he really doesn't like my druid and wants to kill my druid. When I saw those arcane missiles, I was like, oh, we survived. Like, thank God.
Both missiles, yeah.
Even-
Both of them just didn't really do anything for him.
Yeah, this play, I forgot how bees work temporarily. I had a brain fart moment. I was like, oh, can I just develop bees and then arbor up? But
Yeah, we weren't sure what was going on there exactly.
I was like, I don't know. I guess I wanted to remove the Sork real bad. That's what
Yeah,
I'll say.
Sure,
The only
yeah.
thing I was curious about.
I
whether you-
removed his tempo while developing my own, as Jay
Nice.
Alexander would say.
Excellent.
I was wondering if you were ever like considering trying to find lethal there off the nature studies, just to end the game, like bloom into studies and just be like, no, I'm done with this game. But it worked out. You got there, and congratulations and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Shout out to the boys as well, just the whole team. Foolish Madman all the way. Good luck, Dardar, all the way. And also thank you guys for casting the matches. I know it was
Absolutely.
a long slog today.
No, it was fun.
It wasn't a
Good game.
slog though. Every series was fantastic to watch. Like there was no downside to doing a long stream tonight for sure.
True.
There's probably less time than
Other-
last week.
I say other than my daughter's going to wake me up very early in the morning, regardless of if I tell her no, daddy casted really late last night. Can we sleep? She's not going to listen to that. So that's
I casted the THL Legacy Finals. This can wait.
she's gonna be like, cool. It's breakfast time. It's 6 a.m. Let's go. So it's all right though. We do it for the love. So we're having a good time here. So thank you, Diamond, for being on stream and coming and talking with us. And good luck to you guys tomorrow. And maybe we'll get to see you on Hearth Center this week. You know, depending on what happens.
You'll either see me at Hearth Center or you won't on Tuesday, depending on how this goes.
Depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, good night, Diamond, and thank you to everybody out there for tuning in tonight. It was a pretty hoppin' night on stream in the chat as well, so we always love to see that. Excellent activity
Almost
there.
50 people here.
Yeah, 50 people here, so that's pretty cool to see. I loved every second of this, Isocles. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it was a great series. I'm glad we got to cast all of it, and looking forward to being a spectator tomorrow.
Definitely. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow afternoon. As I mentioned, that is going to be the conclusion of Legacy Series. And make sure to get your Octathlon teams in if you haven't already. So if you're looking to play in our off-season series, you're going to have a lot more free time with Legacy and Hero closing up shop here in the next few weeks. So we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. And good luck to the remaining players and our remaining teams in Hero Series as well. We'll be back next Saturday with some Hero Finals matches, I would hope. And until then, have a great night. See you later.
Okay.